Hey, welcome back to the Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are back with the Deck Dive Alphabet series, and we're only on the letter B. That's for Whrilwind Built to Last. This is a really fun deck, and it's technically within an archetype classically known as the Modernism series, and these are Whrilwind Rush decks. They usually have access to about 2.5 different win conditions, and let me tell you, they're an absolute blast. If you're a newer player to Netrunner, either newer to the standard format or just kind of new in general, I can't recommend a deck like this enough because it's aggressive, it's fun, you're jamming out agendas, and having access to multiple win conditions forces you to kind of play proactively, and it puts you in a really great mindset where you're always looking at your different outs and trying to pursue and kind of corner the runner and force them to overextend a bit. So we're going to be talking about the deck list. We have a bunch of gameplay if you want to jump ahead. If you want to take a second to like the video, that's definitely appreciated. But let's just take a couple minutes to explain our idea and what some of the cards in this deck do. So in short, it's a Modernism deck. That's an archetype that goes back to, I think, 2014, 2015. We did a deck list last year in Startup explaining the identity, and this deck list is not exactly playable. You can move some cards around. I think this is a simplified version in the standard format. Firstly, it's mostly NSG cards. I think there's only 3 cards that are FFG only. If you don't have any of the FFG card pool, it's important to know at any organized play levels, you can proxy these cards. So there's only 3 cards you have to grab. But the idea with this deck list is we're trying to jam forward aggressively. We're trying to be scoring agendas. We're just pushing things constantly in the remote server, and we have 2.5 win conditions. Firstly, if we can get to 7 points, congratulations, we win, and we're pretty good at putting agendas in the remote server and getting to 7 points. Specifically, we're playing Built to Last, and Built to Last says when you advance a card that doesn't have an advancement on it, you gain 2 credits. I've been incredibly impressed with his identity ability. You'll see at the end of every game, I'll put on screen how many credits we got through Built to Last, and it's usually like 16, 18, 26 credits, which is way more than you think you would. And the fact that you're getting that money for doing the thing that you want to do, it makes pushing agendas cheaper. Every 3-2 agenda functionally only costs 1 credit. It is just really, really smooth and easy to play. We also have advanceable assets. We have advanceable ice. We'll be getting to that, but just jamming towards points aggressively with less money than you might need for other corporations is win condition 1. Win condition 2 is the sort of meat damage flatline combo that's been around in Netrunner since 2012. The iteration it is in modernly is Public Trail into End of the Line. So in short, we're playing a full playset of Public Trails System Gateway. If the runner has made a successful run on their prior turn, if they don't have 8 credits, they're getting a tag. That is really important because we have a tag punishment End of the Line from the Borealis cycle that says, go ahead and remove that tag, but do 4 meat damage. So if the runner has ever interacted on their last turn, they've made a successful run because they're trying to keep up with us. And if they have fewer than 8 credits and they have fewer than 4 cards in hand, they are going to flatline. And this is something that's very surprising. It's really important with this deck. You're constantly pushing things into a remote server, so the runner feels like they're always on the back foot and they're struggling to keep their money up. They're struggling to keep their cards up in hand. And that is the basic idea behind these Modernism decks. Now that's the second win condition. The 0.5 win condition is we have just a small bit of fast advance. We're playing 1 copy of Audacity. This is one of the few FFG only cards we have. And Audacity forces you to throw out your whole hand, at least 2 cards, to get 2 advancements on a card. The idea with this card is as soon as we get to 5 points, we can just have the Audacity, install a 3-2, advance, Audacity, get a bit of fast advance, and when we're on 5 points, we're threatening to close the game out super quickly, and that is another thing that is hard for the runner to slow down when they know they have to go quickly, and hopefully we'll catch them off guards with Public Trail to end the line. Those are our 2.5 win conditions, and most of this deck is set up just to facilitate those ideas. So to go over some of the main card choices, if we look at the agendas, there's nothing too flashy here. It's all the good stuff, the above the law, the 3-2 we want to jam out to trash a resource. We have Oaktown Renovation, one of my favorite agendas in the entire game. We install that face up, advance it, get more money, push yourself forward. This card is really cool because it means that we can res our most expensive ice on turn 1 if we go ice, Oaktown, advance. Because as soon as that ice is rezzed, we can continue to advance the Oaktown, and every credit we put back into it, we're refunded handsomely. So we can just push ourselves forward and be super aggressive. We're playing a Project Atlas. Important with this one, very strong Whrilwind agenda. You want to go and make this a 4-2 agenda. So you usually go install advance, next turn, score it out. And that's because, as we talked about, with the Singleton Audacity or Public Trail End of the Line being a 2-card combo, we want to make sure we have this advancement counter that at instant speed, we can trade that agenda counter, to go get whatever combo piece we're missing. And that is super, super prevalent. Once we have that agenda counter, we're basically holding every card in our deck, as long as you only need 1 card in your deck. The last card to explain really quickly is City Works Project. This you might not be familiar with. This is one of the FFG card pool cards. It's a public card, so just like Oaktown, it's not rezzed or unrezzed, it's installed face up. And if the runner wants to touch this, when it's installed, they have to take 2 meat damage plus 1 for every advancement. So often we're going install advance in the remote server, they see what it is, and the question is, can they get in and steal it while also keeping more than 8 credits and of course more than 4 cards in hand, which is what we desperately care about with Public Trail End of the Line. It works well with that. It's totally blank on central servers, which can be a bummer, but jamming this on the table and saying, I know you can get in, but I know you're not going to survive the following turn is exactly the treat here with these sort of decks. Otherwise, relatively straightforward. We've talked about most of the operations. We're playing hedge fund. In terms of the assets, we have Charlotte, who's just fantastic in these Built to Last decks because we get paid to advance Charlotte every single turn. So she functionally becomes 5 credit and a card draw if the runner can't get into the remote server. We're playing Rashida. I think this is the last FFG only card, and Rashida is very, very common in the standard format. We're only playing 2. Mind you, 3 cards and 3 credits is a lot, but we generally have Charlotte in the remote server for the first couple turns until we transition to an agenda. So we didn't feel like we needed the full play set of Rashidas because Charlotte's a really nice thing to kind of force the game forward, or not. We're just going to get a lot of value. We're playing 3 Spin Doctors because of course we are, and our upgrades, 2 copies of Angelique. Importantly, as a defensive upgrade, doing meat damage puts the runner further away from 4 cards in hand, which is pretty important. But very importantly, with the threat 3 checks on Angelique, you can expend her to do a single meat damage. And that 1 meat damage might not seem relevant, but if the runner's keeping 4 cards in hand so they know they're not going to die to the end of the line, you do Angelique to drop them to 3 cards, and then of course, Public Trail into end of line will finish the game off from there. So it's a bit extra reach that the runner might not expect. Also, it is worth noting about Public Trail, this is important to keep in mind. While if the runner has 8 credits, they probably should pay 8 credits if they don't have enough cards in hand. And if that's the case, if you can trade 4 credits for the runner's 8 credits, as long as you have the money to do that, that actually is not a bad trade. So a lot of times you can do Public Trail. Oh, you paid 8, install advance in the remote server, and then start scoring out. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't always need to be guaranteed lethal. You can just push forward. Now, everything else in the deck is ice. And understanding what ice you want to bring to the standard format, you have to have an understanding of what the icebreakers you're expecting to run into. And we're running a lot of barriers, and currently in the standard format, you can kind of guess what sort of fractors you're running into. It's mostly, of course, Cleaver, which Anarchs and Shapers are playing consistently. It's good at the low strength stuff, not good at the big strength stuff, and then Kurapira, which is a good card, but doesn't actually break many barriers besides really low strength stuff relatively well. And what you'll notice here is we have some really good barriers into the sort of expected fractors. My favorite card in this deck is Treeline. And while Treeline comes in, it's 4 strength with an end the run. That actually is pretty expensive for a Cleaver, let alone for a Kurapira. Now, because we get 2 credits the first time we advance an advanceable card, we very often install Treeline and advance it once, which makes it a 5 strength barrier. That means Cleaver spending 5 credits to go through this Treeline. Once there is some sort of strength manipulation for the icebreakers, we can continue to advance this a bit. You have to be very careful with this deck, and you'll see in the upcoming gameplay is I'm not playing this like a hyper-glacier deck where I'm just sitting there advancing my Treeline over and over again. But on its own, the stats on Treeline line up really well into most fractors you're expecting to see in the format. And of course, you can also expend Treeline to get 3 advancements. That will matter if you draw a Treeline in the mid to late game and installing it is not worth something, while making a 7 or 8 strength Treeline can be pretty rude into some of those Cleaver builds. We also have some other ice that benefits a bit more from getting more advancements. Now, another barrier we're playing is Border Control. It's not strictly advanceable, but you can trash this at instant speed to end the run. I'll usually put this on the remote server and then use that ability once the runner has paid 6 to 7 credits to run the server. Right before it's successful, we say, sorry, try again. And that can be a really mean swing. You can put this on central servers to stop very strong run-based pressure, like a Chestushka that Essa is playing, but more often than not, for most matchups, we'll put this on the remote server. Now, our last choice here, and this is a choice, I think in some of the matches, we were playing 2 Logjams, 1 Pharos. This list is on 1 Logjam, 2 Pharos, so you can decide what distribution you want, because both of these cards are relatively similar. Pharos costs 7 credits, that's expensive, but it has 3 subroutines, and it comes in at 5 strength, which is not too bad whatsoever. Now, if you triple advance this, that's when it becomes 10 strength. That first advancement doesn't do anything. And triple advancing this can be a bit difficult. Treeline will obviously help, but we generally don't want to spend your whole turn just advancing this thing. We want to be faster than that. Now, similarly, Logjam is also 3 subroutines as much as they're all end the run subroutines, which is pretty good if the runner's playing something like Boomerang, because then they're kind of out of luck. Pharos, they can Boomerang through and take a tag. But the problem I found with Logjam is at the speed we're going, when we res a Logjam, it's usually only about 2, maybe sometimes 3 strength. And 3 strength doesn't line up well against Cleaver, so to make this genuinely a taxing card, we have to continue to advance it to get it to higher 4, 5, 6 counters, and we just don't have time to do that. Now, Logjam is really good against Boomerang. It's nice that when the runner face checks into this, and if they can't break it, we get 2 credits back, which cheapens us a heck of a lot. But overall, I've actually found that Pharos is more taxing quicker, and in this strange matchups where we have the time to triple advance it, I'd rather triple advance a Pharos than a Logjam. Logjam is new, so do try it out, and it's going to depend on your meta, but you kind of need a couple more counters on the Logjam for it to be proper taxing, and I wasn't consistently getting there. Code gates, we're running the in-faction advanceable code gate. It's Whoredom. Whoredom is really good. Now, advancing this, it doesn't actually do anything as much as it does give you 2 credits, so it's akin to clicking for a credit. You have to keep in mind that advancing your face down cards actually does give information to the runner. They know it can't be a border control. They know it can't be a hammer, but they're actually more likely to think the advanceable card is an advanceable barrier because there's way fewer advanceable code gates, and I think there's only 1 advanceable sentry in the format right now. 4 strength, 2 subroutines is pretty good. You only triple advance this if there's an AI breaker because making the subroutines more impactful usually doesn't matter because by the time you triple advance it, they often have access to their decoder anyways. Sentries are really good in this list. We have Winchester, which apologies if you have to learn the trace mechanic for the first time. It's a bit of a deprecated mechanic, but there's a couple cards. Winchester is just a very good ice for 4 cost, 4 strength, and hopefully 3 mean subroutines as long as you get this on HQ. It's not the worst on R&D or the remote server, but you generally want to put it on HQ because runners are going to break this for more than you end up resing it. Similarly, Hammer, a new card. This has really good subroutines on it and has really good text that punishes ways to cheat around ice like Boomerang or Botchless or AI icebreakers. I will put this largely on central servers. Sometimes you'll put it on a remote server because it is annoying, and if you can jam agendas in there turn after turn, they can't really afford to let the hammer fire turn after turn. These are game-winning subroutines on the right board states. They're very, very mean. I like Hammer way more than I thought I would. It's very strong. And that's the deck list, and it's a relatively straightforward game plan, but having the flexibility of those 2.5 win conditions puts you in this situation that's like really freeing. As a newer player and Netrunner, you might be a bit apprehensive about putting your agendas on a table behind ice because you see the runner can get in there. They cost 5 credits. They have 7 credits. They can make it in. And the big thing with this deck is understanding, yeah, the runner can sometimes steal your agenda in the remote server. You're installing them face up. They know what's in there half the time, but can they get in while still having more than 8 credits and 4 cards in hand? And that is the play here. Rushing fast enough that the runner's always on the back foot, so it's hard for them to respect all the different threats. A bit of fast advance, a lot of kill, and then some pretty reasonable ice and some good economy, some good fundamentals when using Built to Last, firing Charlotte, and just pushing yourself forward. If you want to tinker with this deck a bit, I think there's a lot of options. Mind you, the list that we posted last year in Startup, that agenda suite is actually worth trying straight up in this. It's a couple more agendas, but you get to play some of the smaller agendas like Hostile Takeover, which bad publicity is not great for you, but it's a lot of money when you score at a Hostile Takeover, gain 9 credits. I also want to try out Eminent Domain, which is an interesting card as well. You can run some of the bigger ice. You can consider running an Archer as well, but that's another card that Built to Last, scoring it out for functionally 1 credit feels pretty good. Also totally worth noting, when I originally set out to do this deck list, I wanted to try out Retribution as an alternate win condition and see if the deck with Retribution was stronger with the deck with End of Line. And from my testing, End of Line was actually a lot better than I thought it was. Retribution is pretty good against criminal decks specifically that lose their program and don't have recursion, but against Shapers and Anarchs right now in the standard meta have so much recursion that I'm not sure I would pursue that. Another thing, if you want to try Tucana instead of Angelique, that's an option. You lose a bit of reach on the lethal combo, but Tucana is quite powerful if you want to just snowball forward and play some fundamentals Netrunner as opposed to a bit more of a sharper, pointier game. Shoutouts too, if you're playing Built to Last, you want to try a Meston Chestfo, you're going to have to free up some influence. Meston Chestfo is just one of the best advanceable ice in the whole game, and the Modernism classic has always been Snare. So if you can sneak 1 snare in there, specifically if someone's used to the deck list as printed, that can be a nice surprise. Again, cards in hand, tags, credits, we care about all that sort of stuff a lot, so why not put it all into 1 card? That's Built to Blast. I had way more fun with this than I thought it was. It was way more consistent and way more smooth than I thought it would be for a deck that is as straightforward as this. Now, sometimes they won't see the public trail end of line coming. We've had some 2-turn games, that's for sure. But even if they understand this, trying to keep up with your speed and trying to keep those cards and those credits up can be quite tricky. And with that, hopefully enjoy the upcoming games, enjoy the deck list that's posted below. If you like this sort of video, you want to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps the Métropole Grid grow. And with that, enjoy the games. Ciao. All right, we're playing some Built to Last. This is our tempo rush deck. We're on the end of the line version, so we have some meat damage. We're playing against Sable, 45 cards. Thank you, YouTube. Not sure exactly what we're playing against. We can open with the Charlotte. Now, we generally want an ice for HQ so we don't get diversion, let alone we need to keep Sable out from running whatever mark. So we want to ice HQ and R&D. This hand we can definitely keep. We're hoping it comes together with probably just another piece of ice and we can do double ice Central's hedge fund. If not, we're going to probably just ice HQ and hold down. That's usually the case. We'd love to push out an early Charlotte. It's just like leaving Centrals open is not a thing we can do. Oh, double Charlotte. That's obnoxious. So we're going to ice HQ. If we want to play a hedge fund before the logjam comes up, because then we'll have a better logjam. So we can do a hedge fund, logjam, advance. The other options we can do draw. And then ideally we do ice HQ hedge fund. That's probably a bit better. Yeah, cool. Hammer on R&D is totally fine. We want the end to run on HQ. Now you might be wondering, we can't res any of this stuff. And that's correct. We can't. Our opponent might find that out. Luckily Archives is the mark here, but next turn we definitely want to do hedge fund advance. Maybe we draw an ice. We can do an ice Charlotte advance. That'd be okay. As much as we can't res everything. Bravado, we're sending it straight in. We can't res any of this stuff. Not gonna res that. 1 and 5. Finding the Charlotte. You can trash that for 2. Would be happy with that idea. You're gonna make some more money from the Bravado. Charlotte stays. So it looks like our next advance play is gonna be pretty well told what that is. Earthrise. Good start. Oaktown. Okay. So we don't really have anything here. We can do draw hedge fund to hedge fund. That's fine. We don't really need to advance the logjam. Throwing out the hedge fund is like akin to advancing the logjam because once it's rezzed, it'll at least have 1 counter or technically 2 counters. But we definitely want to advance with Built to Last before we res the ice if we do at all. And with Kurapira being the fractor we're expecting, we actually do want to get the logjam up to strength because if it's only 1 strength or 2 strength, you're not boosting that much if at all. Carbidium, free archives run. Now this run here might not matter unless a mutual favor comes down. Might as well sometimes. And now we're running it. So we have now 40% of an agenda. So unfortunately, we're going to have to res a logjam. We're going to fire that. So it's nice to get this resed and we get 2 credits back. And so now there should be 4 credits to break with Kurapira, which is not nothing. That was a Pharaohs would be a bit better. Oh, this is a dirty hammer. Give it a runner a tag. Trash an Earthrise Hotel. Yeah, we'll take it. Now you can't just run through this thing. We still are looking at, I believe, 6 agendas in R&D. The tag technically does matter, but losing an Earthrise to install, that's 8 credits now for only like 1.5 Earthrise. All right, boarding controls. Perfect top deck there. We can push the Oaktown. I think we're just going to go for the Charlotte until we get 2 ice on the remote server. They know what this is. In theory, we could pre-res it. I'm not expecting to play around specifically falsified credentials, which is not a card you generally see outside of Amakua builds and specifically 419. But there is technically 1 criminal card in standard that punishes you if they're able to call a very obvious card on the remote server. So we could consider resing this. Diesel. Definitely looking for options here. They don't have money. Again, they spent 8 credits on Earthrises. We're going to res the border control here and we can keep it and get our credit back. Our board stays pretty good into the Hermes we're expecting. And now they're going to discard a bit here. Charlotte will get us back on track. And once we get 2 ice, pinhole. Okay. So here they have 5 credits. So we can just use the Charlotte. Now they can't touch anything. We have another Charlotte to push from there. If they had less credits, we could actually just let them trash this. But I think we actually appreciate getting the 3 credits on the Charlotte. Daily cast. Okay. So Hammer is going to be holding for a bit down to only 2 credits. We definitely want to get a second ice here. And if we do, we actually can push out the Oaktown. It's relatively safe behind ice into boarding control. Throwing out a Jachinho. Interesting. Something is afoot now. We know it's a Jachinho deck, so that's going to change a lot. I think we're just going to push it out. This gives us a lot of money, and we can start scoring out from here. This card's really, really good. The first advancement, let alone, is a lot of money, and then from there it gets even better. We can triple advance this, score it out next turn, and then either jam the Atlas or the Charlotte. We're technically a bit weak to HQ here, but the cool thing about Oaktown is that it's can't be bounced if Hermes comes down and you send Centrals. Wizard's Chest. R&D doesn't end the run. HQ is pretty good. We definitely want a second ice on HQ sooner than later. I think we're just going to push it. In theory, we could leave this here. We don't really have a reason to. We're going to be installing next turn, but it seemed pretty safe in the remote server. As much as Daniil is now on 7 credits. So we're expecting inside jobs and boomerangs. Luckily, only inside job beats logjam. Hammer, you can just send it, and we don't really care about the first knife. It's the other knives we care about. Sable, HQ mark. Yeah, class act, okay. So they're making 6 credits a turn. That's a lot. We want to get a second ice on HQ. I don't think we want to just Audacity the Atlas. I think we want to get a counter on the Atlas. So I think we do install, advance. And the question is whether we hedge fund or whether we advance the Whoredom. We advance the Whoredom, we tell that it's advanceable ice. I think that's no big surprise so far in a built to last deck. You could play around Mess and Chesto slightly. I don't think we're actually going to need the hedge fund here. I'm going to advance this. Another option is actually advance the Atlas once more. Because if we have an Atlas of 2 counters, we can start pulling any sort of combination. Oh, Melandra Gem. Very cool. So this bypasses, mind you, ice of 3 strength or less. So we actually should double advance our logjam. Now backstitching is going to make a bit different. Legwork here, unfortunately not going to connect. We've drawn through about 13 cards. So you're expecting about 2.5 agendas, but luckily we have a safe remote server. So we're happy that this Melandra Gem is going to be probably used on this logjam and not going to connect with anything. You can trash the Charlottes if you want. Yeah, if the corporation has like a safe window, a safe remote, like it's sometimes hard to kind of pivot to HQ pressure. I'm actually surprised to see an access card, like multi-access in a deck that's wanting to to Jachinho. You can trash 2 Charlottes in theory. It's expensive. So saying Audacity hedge fund Charlotte. Now backstitching a Melandra Gem at threat 4. the Modernism is going to bypass anything. So in theory, a single knife could come in, but we just want to take us to not exact, well, technically game point. Because as soon as next turn, we can just go grab our 5/3, our city works, and do install advance, and say like, you need to get through 2 ice, a border control, and have 4 cards in hand, which is not impossible. There's a lot of money on the runner side. So if we want to pull like, you know, at least one of our combo pieces, if we're trying to go for end the line, we have to naturally draw the other one, and then going to require something. I think this is the sort of like matchup where it's weird. The more I'm like, my expectation was end the line, public trail would be a bit more of a proactive, easy play. But I think in practice, it's actually the public trail into retribution has a wider spread, at least into criminal, but it should do a bit more work. Crashing programs and hardware is pretty important. All right, we're going to bypass the Melandra. That means that Jachinho is going to come down. This means that, oh, the backstitching on HQ. So you're just going to throw it through the hammer unless you inside job it. So there's the inside job. Got the click back on HQ. No steal, no trash on the top of R&D. So now we're running archives, and we can both do Jachinho and Wizard's Chest. The problem is you can't use the Wizard's Chest for Jachinho, so an Orca is coming down. Okay, so this is probably the one that's on Orca and Labisomil, which we're totally fine. Orca breaks hammer for 4. It's pretty bad. Diesel last click will add the knife to the score area. Mind you, we don't know the other 2 knives are. Only 19 cards left in the stack. We'll see what they do differently here. Just credit. Okay, I guess they didn't want to discard. Technically, when you see your cards, right, like that's information you can't unsee, but we're totally fine with that. All right, Winchester, also pretty good into Orca. So here we can do install Charlotte and then just wait. If we draw any 3/2, 4/2, we can jam into the remote server probably, hoard them into boarding control they don't have an answer for. I think we probably want to start with, we could do Spin Doctor, see if we draw into an agenda. So where's the Spin Doctor? Okay, so we have an Atlas. We can install advance the Atlas. That's probably fine. I'm not that worried about 2 more Jachinhos happening. Once we score this, we're technically on game point. So we can just put that in there. We don't actually have to advance it. We can res both of these, hoard them into boarding control for 4. They haven't shown a breaker yet. They have to beat the Hoard'em, which is possible. Luckily, they just have an Orca down. We can just ice HQ. We're not gonna be able to res everything here. We just need only 1 credit to score out, because as I built the last works, you do advance and then advance. You get the 2 credits back. Because you advance, you go down to 0, you gain 2. No, yeah, you can do it with the 1 credit. Carpe Diem, Marcave on Arc. Let me try that again. Carpe Diem, Archives with the mark. So backstitching is not going to do anything. And with the Audacity in hand, this Atlas scored out, and the Atlas token, we should be on game point. We can steal any or grab any 3/2 from our deck, and it's really hard for them to win out. Quetzal, nice choice. They have 1 click left now, so they're going to break 1 barrier subroutine a turn. Logjam has 3, so you can boomerang through that, double backstitching. We're just going to score this out. We drew an oak down. Going to get credit. And now next turn, we can just grab any 3/2 from our deck and score out with the Audacity from hand. We are a bit short. Again, we can do public trail end the line depending on their credit total and cards in hand. That is a thing that we have always access to. Archives is still the mark, so they have probably not an easy job running HQ here. And with Audacity, we only need 1 credit to close the game out. Lebisomi is coming down. Oh, with the credit kiting. Super cool. Installing that for free. Kind of nice. Good game, well played. Yeah, they see it. So we're just going to grab the 3/2. It'll be an above the law to shut down DJ Quetzal's party. Install, advance. They have the Audacity. All right. Hey, good game. Thanks for the game too. I think I saw this deck list posted. I'm not sure if it was played. I think it was an event at the UK. But it's sort of like Lobisomi, Orca. I didn't know it was a Sable Jachinho deck. But these breakers kind of do make sense if you're playing, of course, naturally Wizard's Chest. And if you don't have a lot of programs, you're definitely going to hit one of them. It looks like there's a Melandra in the list too. So with 3 programs, you're guaranteed at least to get one of your expensive ones. And this breaker suite does deal with a lot of stuff. As much as technically if you have enough barriers, you can tax them out. And we probably can tax out our Lobisomi. I don't know if there's any ways to like charge this. All right, let's do another one. All right, Hoshiko, 49 cards. I think Hoshiko's the best. I don't think tournament results are proving that. It's been a problem. We have an opening hand that we don't have an ice to jam behind, but we have a really good centrals ice. 2 hammers, not really what we want on a remote server. What we want on centrals, because it's taxing. It doesn't end the run. So I'm going to mulligan this hand. Our game plan is against Hoshiko. We're not expecting centrals pressure on turn 1. There's no cards we really have to play around. Like Hoshiko will go touch a card, so she flips. But that means we generally want to just put ice on a remote server, score an agenda. So here we can do border controlled Atlas. We can also do tree line Atlas advance. Those are options. We can push an early Rashida, which actually might be better. It's a bit safe. If he mulligans, maybe we have a better shot. To beat a border control in the remote server turn 1, you need to not run a last click. If you install Botulus, that gets us. If you install the hard cast, the Cleaver, that gets us. But it's hard to make those calls. Maybe if we're playing around Cleaver, like tree line's a bit better because it costs a fair bit more to break, especially if we advance it. Charlotte, though. This is why the deck doesn't have 3 copies of Rashida, because Charlotte's the best card. We're just going to start with Charlotte. Now, you probably do see a run on HQ here, especially after we mulliganed. You're looking at 1 in 5 cards to be an agenda. The question is, do you expect this to be the agenda? I don't think so. Maybe. And Built to Last, you can do this a bit more aggressive. They are paying attention to the mulligan, which is good. But I think there's a lot of things like this you jam in their mode server in turn 1. The question is whether he can charge it or not. Did he keep? He kept. So, Poke HQ, this is a Charlotte, is always a Charlotte. There's no way this play is not a Charlotte. Charlotte's just so good, obviously, in Built to Last. Gain 4 credits, draw a card every turn. You spend a click to gain a credit. We're going to have to res the tree line, which gives us another credit. You're not expecting bad face checks. Generally, turn 1, you can face check into Wayland pretty safely. So now Real App knows you can like commit a botch list to this. You can install a cleaver. It's going to be a bit expensive. And at the end of the day, we can still just get our money from Charlotte. So now his goal is to set up to get a way to deal with this in the next couple turns. But more importantly, also, you need to touch a card to flip Hoshiko. Price. Moshing Fenris, price Miss Bones. So it could easily be DJ Fenris here. Now you have 2 cards in archive, so running HQ that makes that sweeter. Turn 1, DJ Fenris brought to you by the price. Steve Cambridge is definitely coming HQ. So we actually only have 1 good hit here if you hit the boarding control. Worst case is obviously the Atlas. If you trash the Rashida, we don't care. Spin Doctor, we honestly don't care. And now we're gonna have decisions. You can say price, and then like, welcome to Anarch. I get so frustrated with this, where Anarch is like 2 prices in on turn 1. Hits the boarding control, we got lucky. But now, you know, you're gonna play another price. You're gonna see, what is it? Like 9 cards on turn 1, daily casts. Okay, it's a Charlotte. So we need ice up HQ. We should draw an ice with this, right? We don't. I think we do public trail, trash DJ Fenris, trash daily casts. Can we afford that? We can do public trail, trash DJ Fenris. I think that's what we ought to do here. The other line is we ice up HQ with a boarding control. That actually might be fine. It's probably better to trash the daily casts. But the boarding control in HQ is like not amazing. It's just genuinely not fantastic. We would like to have thinking here, Winchester more. So we can always open with Spin Doctor. That will draw us up to 7 cards. We can advance Charlotte, install, discard 1. That's fine too. But I think there's a chance that we just do public trail, trash DJ. We can always do that in the future. Let's just get some money. Charlotte's guaranteed. We haven't seen any pinholes yet. This looks like just good stuff Hoshiko. Arguably the best deck in the format. Hoshiko now going to lose a credit and draw a card. So that access not only gave you, you know, a free price, but it's gain a card and a credit. Now this turn you might not want to access. I think if HQ wasn't iced up, it's a very obvious thing. You should be running HQ here. We've drawn through a lot of cards. Second price, hitting the price, twinning. So only one option here is going to be the twinning. Pinhole and raindrops. So just a bunch of events. That's still fine. Especially with Steve giving you access to that. Again, we can see like, what is it, 3 prices by turn 2 if you manage to get into HQ here. It's disgusting. We definitely want to hoard him or something on server 1 because we want to force 2 breaker types and we want to rush out before Banhar comes down. Because once Banhar comes down, obviously nothing is safe. Second daily cast. Okay. No run. Going to flip back to Hoshiko. Charlotte. Give us our value. Give us a hoard him. City Works. It's tricky. We can do install advanced City Works, discard a card. I don't think we need to do that. I think we're going to start with the Spin Doctor, find another piece of ice. If we find an ice, shit. I was going to say if we find an ice, we'd actually probably double ice this and jam the Above the Law, which is going to do work. Either dealing with a pretty full daily cast or twinning or Fenris, all very good targets. So I think we're just going to put cards on the table and just force some amount of interaction here. So we're going to discard 2 cards here. I don't think we want the Oaktown. City Works, I don't think we want now. We'll see how this goes. I'm not sure if we want to fire Rashida into Charlotte, but the second Spin Doctor is relatively safe. Moshing, throwing out labor rights, a strike fund for 2 credits, and the second twinning. So you always want to track the recursion. You're looking at 1 Ash and Epilogue, usually somewhere between 2 and 3 labor rights. I think 2 is more common. And so once all those are gone, you really need DJ Fenris to get your recursion loop. But again, this is Anarch. It's turn 3. They've already gone through, 10 cards, installed a lot of cards. It's just like absurd. We definitely want a second ice here before Banhar comes down and before you find the right breaker. That is one of the downsides. This deck has no way to tutor its breakers. So with 2 cleavers, you just have to naturally draw them. Luckily though, with Banhar, you get a bit more reach. But if we get ideally a Hoardem, okay, it's Rashida. You can trash that. It gets the Hoshiko access, which is pretty good. That kind of tells you that our hand is not phenomenal. We're going to use this for obvious reasons. We could actually greed it potentially. On last click, we might have wanted to greed that because I don't want to draw those agendas, let's be honest. And then we could just install the last Spin Doctor. I didn't realize that was last click. Okay, that's what we wanted. So we'll do server 1. We see no breakers so far, so we can either install above the law, advance above the law, or advance Charlotte, crash, trash Charlotte. I honestly don't think we need more than 17 credits. So this looks like what's it called? This looks a lot like an Atlas with a counter, which is pretty powerful. We also could have maybe pushed an Oak down. I think we're relatively safe. Hopefully a Banhar comes down this turn and we can nuke a Banhar with above the law. The deck is on 3 Banhars, so like not great. This is the second twinning, so if we trash that, the deck will have no multi-axis until like they get into the recursion, run HQ, bring it back. Deck has a lot of recursion in it. But right now, our game plan is hopefully we draw better than they can, which is unfortunate. Now, we technically do have public trail to end the line eventually, and the Alice token gets us more consistent to that part. We have to just force him to spend some amount of money, because if he doesn't have the 8 credits, let alone he needs cards in hand, we can maybe get something there. But this above the law should be good. Steel Skin, that's the second one, I think. Doesn't really matter when we're end the lining unless we do like Angelique into end the line. Oh, that's the first Steel Skin, excuse me. It's first Steel Skin, first Strike Fund. We definitely want to get another ice on HQ, an ice on R&D. That's where we want to put our hammers, our Winchester on HQ, ideally. Those are hard to break until the turbine comes down. And even then, it's 3 subroutines usually. It's pretty annoying. And from here, we can jam the Atlas next turn. I think it's fine. We probably want to get the Atlas with the counter. And then we're on game point. We can just jam like a really big, if we have a Windows CityWorks project, ideally, we'll have to top deck it. That card is blank from R&D, which is obviously a bit of a struggle sometimes. But we're just going to just jam whatever hand we have and advance some cards. Even breaking the tree line, like it's 5 strength. If you don't get your turbine down, you're breaking this for 5 credits with that cleaver after you install it for 3. Like it is pretty expensive. I think here he might just send it HQ. Like with 18 credits, we can res everything. I honestly think maybe we should be playing Eminent Domain in this deck. I think that'd be fun. That we probably should just play Eminent Domain and like jam more agendas. Okay, R&D for single. Hoshiko's already digital. There is 5 agendas and 32 here. Just touching cards. 3rd daily casts. Honestly, I don't know which to trash. There's the echelon. So trashing daily casts is lose 8 credits. I honestly think the twinning isn't powered up yet. We're going to lose to that eventually, but I think losing 8 credits on this board state seems kind of important. Maybe with recursion, getting rid of Steve is a bit better. It's just like Steve isn't relevant on this board state. Maybe the twinning. Maybe the twinning. This is our weak Maw server once Maw comes down. So next turn they'll be on 6, 7, 8. Okay, they threw out Ashen. Hedge fund off the top. So we definitely score this. The question is, what do we orbital strike? So twinning will be the final twinning. That will come back with Steve. Daily cast is 8 credits. Him paying 3 credits to get nothing is obviously pretty good for us, and that actually might matter more. Fenris is obviously the great equalizer, and I think probably trashing Fenris is right. It's just like the most recursion in a single card, and we can't have that. All of our problems are like, oh, this daily cast will just eventually come back with DJ. Man, I just really wish that Steve Cambridge says pick 2 different cards. Or not DJ, Steve. If Steve said pick 2 different cards instead of 2 of the same cards, like if you weren't able to pick 2 of the same cards, it'd be such an interesting card, both for the corporation and both for the runner. It's a shame it's not that way. Because you're basically trying to make non-decisions. And decisions are fun. Decisions are really fun. Trying to come up with a difficult choice and then seeing what the corporation does about it is like very, very cool. I think that's the 3rd steel skin. The 2nd steel skin, I'm always short by 1. So we're definitely digging for stuff. It looks like we don't have our breakers. We only have an echelon so far. Singleton echelon now doesn't deal with any of the sentries you're expecting relatively well. Winchester, you got to boost twice. Hammer, you got to boost twice. This Atlas, we can't just score out to get to game point, and honestly, we will. It depends what they do. Like if they produce a Banhar, maybe we won't. If we get another ice for their mode server, we can advance the Atlas, 3rd ice, something like that. But just getting to 4 points means that we can jam any CityWorks project and hopefully set up some sort of interesting lethal. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they're doing the math. That's really smart. You should be doing that. We shuffled 2 back. It looks like we only drawn through 13 cards, which you're assuming that's about 2.5 agendas, but we shuffled 2 back, so the density is a bit different. We did draw way more agendas than you'd expect to in our top 13 cards. I think we saw like 4 agendas. Fermenter coming down, we don't have a virus. That's fine. There's a cleaver. There's a buzzer. Okay. So Hoshiko set up. It was turn 5. That's usually when Hoshiko gets all the breakers. If that's the case, we probably just score out the Atlas. I'm pretty sure we just score out the Atlas here. What are we discarding here? I don't think we need the hedge fund. But we're now technically on game point if we jam a 5-3. The problem is now they're going to be running and breaking almost all of our ice for pennies. Now, Hortum is pretty good, and Treeline is still pretty good. That is until, of course, they get their turbine, which is a 1 of in probably the next 20 cards somewhere. So this is actually relatively taxing. Like if we do Oaktown Advance and just force them to run it, like that is still expensive. This is 4 credits. This is 5 credits. That means that they don't have to run it. Like us scoring 2 points, maybe they're worried. Paladin's coming down. That's going to help the twinning. It's the first twinning thing I think we've seen. I think we saw Miss Bones hit the bin. Some of the lists are not on Paladin. I think Mystic Miami is the most common. Trickster Taka also, the late game option is pretty sick. Okay, so he saw a hedge fund. Now he sees whatever this card is. We have to always remember that he sees what we know he sees. It's easy to forget that on JNet, that your opponent has some information of what you're holding. You should use that to your advantage. All right, Hoshiko flips. We have a Winchester. So I think here we can do Oaktown Advance. Now, if we res the Logjam, it'll be 1 strength, 2 strength. That's not great. You break it for 2 credits. So I think we just continue to advance this card. Like, now even when Turbine comes down, you're breaking this for 3. It's not bad. And from this point on, you're really scared if we score this on Audacity, on Hostile Takeover. There's a bunch of ways that'll be a problem. Now, Real App here can just like lock the 2 from R&D every turn by like just installing a card with Paladin, seeing 2. That's a problem for us. There's no way around that. Like, that's going to be a problem for us. We don't really have the time to purge the Fermenter, which is not great. The final daily cast is almost ticking down, but this is a remote server you probably need to be dealing with. There's a Fermenter. Let's see the Turbine. Great. All our ice is now broken for pennies. So it's turn 6. Hoshiko got the Doom rig down. We've been jamming. So this is broken for 1. This is broken for 3. So not great. It is annoying how all board states eventually end up on this, and now ice doesn't really matter. Luckily, we still have like Public Trail into end of line potentially. We can make the tree line expensive. Like, I don't think this deck's on a Fermenter. Sorry, on Botulus. So we can just continue to advance the tree line, which is good. And maybe the money will dry up here. Another Paladin credit. Running HQ cost 1. Winchester's still annoying. It's just still 3 subroutines, but we need to get something better on R&D. That's for sure. Logjam is always going to be at least 2 credits. The thing is, we have to advance this a lot for it to be more taxing than that. I don't think we can res this for 6 and have him break it for 2. Like, that just doesn't seem good enough. Winchester on R&D is 2 credits for 4. Like, it just comes down to the math. It's like, what is the least amount you can spend for the most subroutines? And Logjam probably ain't it because of the 2 for 1 clause on Cleaver. Checking the top of the deck, probably going to swap 2 here, swipe 2 here. Yeah. So total lock on top of the deck. They know the next 2 cards. That's fine. It's a tree line. Huh. So I think we want to expend this tree line, install Charlotte Advance, and see what they do about it. Seems fun. We could also expend the Logjam. That means it'll be 1 strength, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, still not good. If they run this and spend a lot of money on it, I think there's a chance they'll just pinhole threading it. They know the next card on R&D. It looks like from that it might be 2 tree lines in a row. So now this is a 9 strength tree line, which is genuinely kind of ugly to deal with, right? Like, you have to boost a lot. It's like 9 credits. Yeah, it's 9 credits. That's not good for you. So we'll see if he can just like lock the top of R&D. Now the question is whether he has enough money to keep up with us before having to Ashen, and Ashen is slow and expensive. That's the worst case. Oh, why is it always pinhole? Either he trashes it for the money or we gain the money. I honestly think it's more important that he trashes it. I don't think we actually need 3 more credits. Okay. It's more important he doesn't have money than we have slightly more, because most of our ice is rezzed, right? But yeah, we're just talking about that. The pinhole just like cooks this line. Oh, that's a bummer. We just want to put something in the remote server we can advance. He knows the next card on top of the deck. There's the Banhar. That's good that we have the Hordem on the outermost. Public Trail is the top deck. That was the So in theory here, we can Public Trail and trash the twinning, trash the Banhar. Banhar we don't care about, but trashing the twinning actually matters. I think we will trash the twinning. So we'll put Spin Doctor in server 1 and then Public Trail. So he can't pay 8, so he's going to take a tag. We'll trash the twinning, which is the second twinning. So we'll just trash this resource. We can consider trashing Paladin. It is a fair bit of money. In terms of installables we're expecting, it's not that much. Like, the only installables we're expecting here is like Maw, which is not going to be an incredible problem for us. And Banhar I don't think matters, because at least our tree line's on the innermost. Banhar will matter if we put something taxing on R&D, but we can hopefully put something in front of it. But that should be the second twinning. Paying 6 to trash a resource is really expensive. He still has to clear the tag though, so like, it's not the end of the world. Like, there's some tempo trade that's favorable for us. And we'll see if we can make him bite on this remote somehow. I think it's tricky. I don't think he's able to afford this remote server. This is a sort of situation where like having Retribution instead of End the Line, and that's kind of the idea with the deck, is try out both of them, I think would be a bit better. Because if we ended up trashing like the Cleaver, admittedly this is where Banhar matters, like, not that we've seen the second copy of each of the breakers, like sometimes either you don't draw them or you play around things like SDS drone deployment and you don't discard them, but forcing our opponent here to like have to Ashen or Labor Rights to get the breakers back, like, that's tricky. Lots of math. Yeah, I guess they're considering running this tree line. Otherwise, I'm not sure what they're gonna be doing on math here. They can install a maw for 3 credits. Like, that's pretty good. At that point, he has bottomed out on credits, which is like probably not great. The top of R&D is totally unknown. He does know that we have Winchester in hand. I think that's all the information that's known. Maybe he knew about this logjam. I think he might have seen this logjam. I forget. It was a couple turns ago. All right, Ice Carver's coming down for free with Paladin Puemo. So this is slightly cheaper. Raindrops. If we don't res this, I don't think we have a reason to res this. Well, it actually does take a real credit. It drops us down to 3 though, which is pretty bad. If we don't res it, he bounces off of it. The axis here doesn't really matter. He's going to get the raindrops. At least he's not going to get draw. Winchester, the 1 card he knew. So it looks like he's going to try and contest this, which is kind of sick. This, mind you, will now be 8 strength. So you have to break it. You have to boost at 7. So he can run this. Either click for a credit. It looks like Banhar is on HQ, but he's able of running this remote server. I'm very happy if he does, let's be honest. I think he's running it. Fantastic. Gotta just keep putting stuff in servers. Yes, let's go. We don't have to res the Spin Doctor, which is incredible. There's like a value of just putting things in remote servers, right? Like we could have pre-res the Spin Doctor, but no, we just want to force a res because this costs 7 credits. And that's a bit of money. We don't have to res this. The Spin Doctor, nice. So we're going to res it because we can use it before start a turn. Here we could public trail very cheaply, 4 cards in hand. So the top deck that is lethal here would have to be like an Angelique and then an end the line after it. I don't think we have enough clicks for that. And then we have to not hit a steel skin. But we're in an okay spot. Now this hammer is still broken for 3, which on RD is fine. HQ we can just let open. I don't think we need to shuffle anything back here. Charlotte's our best draw. I just kind of want this to break lock every once in a while. Yeah, let's shuffle back in 2 Charlottes. I think Charlotte's a really good draw here. We can also just draw an agenda though. That'd be good too. Draw. Rashida's fine. Rashida actually sometimes isn't great because they're broke here. They probably didn't have to run that hard, right? Like it looks like a Rashida, but it's not like we're scoring 3 points on a never advanced card unless you're expecting double seamless. But yeah, we probably actually shouldn't have shuffled Charlotte back because drawing just about any agenda was better than this. And now with Rashida, we might draw multiple agendas and then have an agenda in HQ and then we can't do both servers. But Lap here has to definitely get the money back, which is hard when you're on 0. The best you have is like raindrops. I don't think these decks are in dirty laundry, which is not good for certain matchups. Banhar is here, so we can go down to 1 credit, do a bit of damage. That takes cards out of hand. It puts us away from public trail end of line though. This is a single axis. How many agendas are in the deck? In terms of the deck, we're looking at 1, 2, 3. I think the deck is on 8 agendas. There's 5 and 25, 1 and 5 shot. That's fine. We probably can bounce back enough with the Rashida that this is not the end of the world. Hoshiko's also losing credits, clearing the tag. Oh, I forgot he had a tag. Oh my God, he had a tag. We could have just cleared stuff. I forgot about the tags. Did y'all forget about the tag? I forgot about the tag. You probably didn't. Okay, so Oaktown's obviously the jam here. That takes us to game point, so Audacity closes the game. So we'll do Oaktown advance at a minimum. Here we can put another ice. That means the Whoredom is like either broken for a credit or a net damage. Doesn't seem like a huge change. The only thing that putting an ice here might matter is that it looks potentially like a border control. And a border control is particularly powerful. Now we can also ice up R&D with another ice. That's also totally fine. We have to res both of them. But technically the second hammer can trash a turbine. I don't see him getting through this unless he has botchless for some reason. And even then, like, it's whatever. I think we just advance this once and discard cards. So Logjam is garbage. Second hammer is expensive. Third public trail seems like a bit much. I think another Charlotte. Oh, actually Charlotte's good because we can put Charlotte in the remote server and then he has to like do something about it. But ideally here, we score this out, put another ice on R&D. Maybe we should have kept the hammer. It's better than Winchester. Yeah, I think that was wrong. We should have done double hammer on R&D because it'll trash a turbine and a Banhar maybe. Yeah, that was wrong. Winchester here is not that good on R&D. Maw is the one thing I have to worry about because if a Maw takes Audacity out of hand, we lose one of our win conditions. But I think here, maybe the runner overextended on the remote server, like paying 7 for that single axis. Even if it's a 4-2, I don't think you care. Maybe you're playing around. Have to res this. Maybe you are playing around hostile somewhere. Fireall, it's 3 damage. Gonna take some cards out of hand. Hitting a Buzzsaw, hitting Banhar, hitting a turbine. Okay. Still a lot of agendas, 4 and 21. So about 1 and 5, actually. That's the density you expect. No steal, nice. Did Hoshiko eat a credit? Or did he have no money? He had no money. Okay, that's where you want to be technically. It's hard to play the game on no money, but it's better than like clicking for 1 and then Hoshiko eats it. Like here you can do credit, maybe. Also, the threat is like if you see an end of line at the top of the deck, if you ever go to less than 4 cards in hand, you just lose to public trail end of line. Checking archives, okay. So now you have to draw here. There is an end of line. Okay, so they have to keep cards up. That's fun. Advance event score. Imagine we could put a hammer here. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We just need something here. And as soon as we top deck a 3-2, of which there's 2 more Atlases in the deck, we can Audacity for the win. Even if we talk a top deck of 5-3, like we top deck a City Works, we do install advance. And it's hard to imagine that lap can contest it, let alone not die to public trail and align the following turn. So we have a bunch of good top decks here. Moshing, that's a nice way to get your credits up, especially hitting a Strike Fund. So we're now up on 5 credits. Strike Fund hitting a Banhar, Miss Bones, and a Strike Fund. Sorry, the Moshing hitting those 3. So again, we know what this costs to break. This costs 7. This costs 2 net damage. HQ on the Banhar. Okay, back into it. Might take a Hoshiko turn off. Might feel like you don't have the time to do it. And again, we have 2 top decks in 20 that just we Audacity out and we win. The worst case scenario would be like City Works Project, and then you steal this and then run R&D and try and win in a single turn, which might actually be the line. I think a Maw coming down for 3 credits to run HQ is also not great for us because then it's all about keeping the Audacity. But the best case here is if we don't top deck it, we can do install Advanced Charlotte and then like make it look like game point. And then he has to do something drastic. If we res border control, we go down to 5. That's not enough to do end line public trail. So we'll do it depending on cards in hand. But at this point, we just need to res stuff to make, like his money has slowed down a fair bit. No Mystics. A Paladin might be tricky this turn. You can always just trash the Paladin. It's going to be hard maybe. I think on tempo, like if you get to the bottom of the deck and you labor rights, like you can just pull back all your high tempo stuff and like recover really quickly. We're looking at 1 more labor rights somewhere between these 12 cards. We just need a Corp card that says like pick a number. Any icebreaker with that strength gets reduced by 2. And so it punishes you for having a rig like this that's 5-5-5. So they just become 3-3-3 and we're back at the same thing. That's all we need. We need a way to deal with this because this thing is like, obviously people don't like this. I don't either. But we can deal with it. Like subroutines on sentries is pretty good. High strength barriers and code gates is pretty good. Sure gamble. Okay. Now being on 13 credits, you can just beat public trail by spending 8. Oh, okay. We're going to res this. It's a Winchester. So this is 2 and then this is 3. So this is a 5 credit run. Now there's still like 4 agendas in 20. Like there's a lot of agendas in there. But we just have to spend the money. We're very lucky to have trash the twinning. 3 on hammer. Do you have to break all of it? Yeah, probably do. Now, if he spends 1 credit to trash a card, we can do public chat in the line. Well, if we had more money, which we can't, but we top deck like a hedge fund or something. I think we have 2 more hedge funds. Paladin, she demands blood. She will eat the cleaver? What? I guess saying like, I'm never bringing the tree line anyways. Oh, and we see a Pharos off the top. That's really funny. Okay, so I think we just do install Charlotte, advance Charlotte. Otherwise here, we're just holding pattern. I think it's unlikely we lose on centrals. We can advance this once more. We can advance the Whoredom. Advancing the Whoredom does nothing. Advancing the tree line does do something, but this actually just gives us money. We might as well click for a credit. It doesn't really change anything. Triple advancing the Whoredom, there's no AI. So Hoshiko loses 1 on 7 credits. Mind you, running R&D only costs 3 credits if you want to take 2 net damage from Banhar. Looks like we're going to install something important, probably holding a Maw in hand. We haven't seen 2 Maws, which is the console, and we have 4 credits. Like it comes down super, super cheap. And then you can thread an HQ. The question is like, if you're holding the labor raids, can you afford to Banhar through stuff? And like, maybe you're just installing the second cleaver from hand. I don't know what the call is here. But until the Maw comes down, all the pressure is like only single axes, which is pretty good. And this looks like a game in the remote server. So we'll see if Lap like can get money up, get the cleaver down, run the tree line. And if not, hopefully Charlotte draws us again a card. We draw a mandatory card and then either find a City Works or we find a 3-2 Audacity out. Drawing up, Banhar's on HQ, makes sense. We can always just crack this last click if we need to stop a Maw fire or something like that. So the deck has only 5 3s and 3 2s left, right? I think we're only on 2 Oaktowns. Install, cheaply. Looks like it's the cleaver, it's back, no surprise. And we're running HQ, we have a click left here, okay. So we probably want to res the border control. It's broken for 1, which is some money. And then here it's not a Maw, so we don't care about the single axis. There's actually a chance that this was incorrect because we need to keep 7 cards for end the line public trail potentially, but we have Charlotte to fix that, so we'll be fine. So if he installs a card here, he loses the game, or if he plays an event that's not a card draw card. So he needs to either be on 8 credits or 4 or more cards in hand. We also haven't seen our Angeliques. That does change the math a bit, like Angelique into end the line public trail, which is a bit more expensive. That does 5 damage. As much as you have to miss the steel skin off the Angelique, which is like pretty likely you'll miss it. There's only 1 steel skin left. Public trail, scary. So this looks like his last turn. He might just send it R&D, which like there's still 4 agendas in 19. The thing is like, what is this, right? Like if it was an Atlas, we don't have to pre-advance it. So like maybe it's a 5-3, just clicking for a credit on 7 credits, 4 cards in hand. Okay. So we top deck a 4-2, we're in an okay spot. Or 3-2, excuse me. 3-2. Damn it. Okay, it's a City Works. So the best case is we just do install advance. Now there's a chance we lose, but you have to run this and then also run R&D. We're going to discard a card here. I think it's going to be the Pharaohs. It's probably actually the second public trail, let's be honest. This card still is doing something. In theory, we could triple advance it. But now you have to run this, which is 4 damage, and then you still have to beat public trail end the line. So best case, you run this, eat 4 cards, and then run R&D. And that can be expensive because running R&D is going to maybe take cards out of the hand. It depends where you put the Banhar. So we're definitely forcing the issue right now. Mind you, this, you just need 4 cards. There's no way to beat it. You can't imp it. Not that there's an imp in the matchup because it's an access. It's not an additional cost to steal. If this card was as additional cost to steal, take the meat damage, well, you can refuse to do it. But more importantly, you could imp it instead of stealing it. Also, if it was like after you steal, like when it's scored or when it's stolen, do meat damage, you would technically can win the game before that text fires. Just like you can steal a Fuji with no cards in hand if it wins you the game. But because this is a when access clause, there's almost no way in the game to cheat it besides like Whistleblower, I think, which is technically a card in the card pool. The lab has a decision here. Figure out where to go. Again, the remote server, this will be 8 strength. So you break it for 5. You have to boost 3 times. So it's 7 credits. You have to deal with Hordem either for 2 damage or 1. And then from that point on, you need to keep your money up because you'll die to public trail on the line. We can just do credit. Oh, we don't even have to do credit. We can just do public trail on the line. We can also just top deck a 3-2. But the worst case scenario, I think the best line for real app is figure out how to run this and then run R&D. Let Winchester fire, let Hammer fire, and then you have to top deck an agenda to win the game. There's only 3 agendas in 17, so it's like not unlikely that we're okay for another turn. But you know that we have public trail end the line. You know this is going to flatline you, and it's hard to do everything. The other option is run this and then just get up to 8 credits. It's just hard when you have to break tree line for that much money. So I think probably the best line is just like send it here and then just full send it R&D because none of this ice actually ends the run. And then just say like either I die to end the line or I win on R&D. I'm assuming that's the outs. Now we don't know his hand, but that to me looks like the play here. I don't think there's agendas in HQ. I don't think it suggests there's agendas in HQ. But none of this stuff matters. Like this trash a program, who cares? The game's over. Trash a resource hardware, doesn't matter, the game's over. Trash turbine, who cares? And that's the worst case, which is, I think, again, 3 and 17 on R&D. So you steal 3 points, and then we have no 1-pointer, so any agenda you see on R&D, you win. That's it. I think that's the only chance. It's just, can you run this? Drawing up. Banhar is on no server. Hitting a strike fund for 4. Raindrops. You can send it HQ here. We're sending the remote server, so it looks like we're going to go for it. You can let some of the subroutines fire on Hordem. That's really cute. That draws cards. You can let the gain 1 credit. You don't have to break all of these. Mind you, Buzzsaw is up to 2, so you can actually choose to break fewer. Yep, that's smart. That'll draw a card back. And so now it's all about running R&D. The question is, will he have more than 8 credits? I don't think he will. Good old tree line. Nothing beats tree line. No, Botulus does. Boomerang does. There's a lot that breaks it. All right, so there's going to be 4 damage. Hits a steel skin. Hold on. Wait, does he have enough cards in hand? Wait, he has enough cards in hand. What did he lose? Oh, man. We figured it out. Okay, so he lost all steel skins. There's another labor rights in hand. So he only has 3 credits. So our play here is probably just tempo end of the line. I honestly think we do public trail end of the line just to wipe 4 cards from hand and force relap to win by clicking for credits. Like, it's absurd, but I think that's the play here. Because otherwise you're going to labor rights, and then like labor rights is going to reset all of this. So we're just going to do it. Public trail, you have to take a tag, end the line. You have no more cards. So it's a Maw, labor rights, sure gamble. So now all he has is this, which means if we top deck, what's it called? Our friend. If we top deck an Angelique, we're in a good spot. Can we install the Spin Doctor? Technically, we can win out on only 1 credit with Audacity, let alone with Built to Last, you go pretty far. But now Relap has to figure out how to win. Can't rely on Banhar and has to be clicking for credits. We can still lose. Like, you can just still send it HQ R&D. It's totally free. HQ is 1 credit. But we can still lose on this board state. It's now just like 3 and 16 on R&D. Going HQ here. We're going to let this go through. We're going to force the credit out. Any credit matters. Has a tag. Did clear the tag. Season Audacity. That's not a good start. Just grinding Hoshiko down. I don't often tempo end the line, but it feels really fun when it's perfectly the last 4 cards. The issue is if we have another end of line, like you shouldn't float tags from Winchester or Hammer, but you can just go R&D here. This only costs a credit. You don't have to break the hardware subroutine. Yeah. So there's a chance here we can Spin Doctor and shuffle cards back in. It's kind of random. Fire all. Oh, I thought we'd break one of these. So this is trash a program. And choose a program to trash. We'll trash the barrier breaker. Boost trace strength. This doesn't do anything. Continue movement. It's a hammer. Continue encounter. Firing broken. Still a chance we lose here. Choose a piece of hardware this or resource. Oh, we should trash Ice Carver. Sorry. We'll obviously have to trash the turbine. And he has a tag. All right. Yeah, I forgot it's hardware or resource. So now here, he cannot run HQ, so we can safely spin Doctor. Now there's only 2 agendas in R&D. We're holding the Atlas in hand, which means next turn, if we survive on R&D, he can't run HQ, we 100% win, unless he can trash a card and come back. So I'm going to spin Doctor back in just 2 cards that should end the run. We'll put back in end of line, and then we'll put back in an untrashable. Tree line seems fine. And so now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 2 agendas in 16. Safe. Should be game. Can't run HQ. Alright, guys, and we just do install Audacity. And that's it. It was really close. If we played one more card in the matchup and the line would have been lethal there. And even if we didn't blow out the hand, like, you can actually really quickly recover with Hoshiko, right? Or with Labor Rights. Like, you just Labor Rights in 3 of your best economy cards. I don't think you Labor Rights back in Ash and Epilogue. Like, I don't think you can. You just don't have time when we have an Audacity in hand. You just Labor Rights in economy, maybe a multi-axis if you have it. With 1 click left, you can't run HQ. You can run R&D, but you'll see the same card. If we top deck and end the line is lethal, we have to do credit in the line, but we just do install Atlas Audacity. The best case here is you just check archives. There's 1 card in there. There's almost no ways an agenda, but there's nothing else you can do on this board state. Clear tag. Yeah, that's fine too. That's really funny. Yeah, clear tag was definitely the play there. And then we're going to score out to 8 points. Wild game. All the breakers were there. We found 1 angle to tax it out. This tree line cost like 15 plus credits, more than that. But we got to the end there. Runner 81 credits. Again, this is only 16 turns. That's kind of slow, admittedly, but we had to play this like pretty protracted war. But this is the board state we're happy the runner ends up on. As much as like if the recursion, just 1 recursion card slips through, that's all reset. Atlas from spin. Yes. Yep. Yeah, it was the second drawn. I'm pretty sure. I think it was Charlotte to Atlas. So it was safe on R&D. Yeah, thanks for the game. I'm glad that they were tanking as much. Like they were really thinking through the turns there. I think like maybe you don't have to run the tree line server and spend 7 on it because like if it's a 3-2, it's a 3-2. But I think you're playing around, what's it called? Hostile probably. Would Retribution have been better? Honestly, probably not. I think removing the hand seems pretty good there. Let's do another one. All right, playing against Kit. I think we can kill Kit, public trail, end the line on turn 1. I honestly think it's possible. I think we just do tree line, Atlas, advance the tree line, and then we won't have enough money, but we might have enough money. But there's a chance that like Kit just dies on turn 1. This is the horrible thing that happens when you draw public trail, end the line. You just ignore the game and just say like, there's a big chance you won't have 8 credits on turn 1. Oh, Charlotte's even better. I thought we're gonna have to like make a financial play, but now there's a chance. Oh, sorry. Best of luck, have fun, eh? We advance this, and so we're very easily gonna have enough money. So now if Kit makes 1 run and has fewer than, you know, the requisite cards in hand, Spark turn 1, Pretty Mary. Oh my God, good game. Unless you win on this run, this is good game. Yeah. Sorry, this can't happen. Cease 2 cards, 3 cards, mind you. Pretty Mary coming down, 6 cards on trick shot. Gonna run the remote server. Y-res when we can end the game. For 1 card in hand, you died a snare there, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh, I feel bad about that. Hey, yeah, sorry about that. Had the opener. Yeah, there's like that was really, really aggressive. Like you had such a good start. Like that's an incredible start from our opponent. Opening with Pretty Mary, trick shot, getting the Lubisomum off the Spark on turn 1, having a creative like sure gamble. What is that start? Like that start's incredible. I guess the creative commission was hit from damage. Like they didn't even have time to play it. Those are like the sort of, I would say slightly cheesier reasons why you should run this. And in theory, that's the idea. It's nice to have a backup because there's a lot of decks right now that just like break ice really well. And so you kind of need an alternate win condition. If people are not expecting the 2-card combo of public trail and end line, yeah, it'll get you. That's what will get you for sure. Oh, Sebastião, 56 card Sebastião. I'm still learning Jinteki. Oh, okay, right on. So big deck and Seb. I'm assuming on 56 cards that this might be Tuno's World Tree Seb list, which seems really, really cool. If that's the case, we want to ice up most things. I'm not expecting any like run pressure. I think that deck is spending most of its influence on 3 trees and then like a miss bones or something like that. This hand is fine. Like we have hedge fund, we can ice up 2 central servers. If we draw another piece of ice, like ideally boarding control goes on the remote server, so we might just ice up HQ to play around some of the HQ pressure cards. We want to ice up at archives eventually, but we're gonna keep this hand for sure. If we're assuming this is a world tree deck, because like that's a lot of cards for a sub deck, this might just be like you know, a creative brew where it's hard to cut the cards you like. Oh, Whoredam's fantastic. So best of luck, have fun. The thing that we have to worry about with Seb is of course Aguacera's Crew, which I think is one of the most powerful cards. So any card that's low strength might just immediately be evaporated. If that's the case, tree line on the remote server is pretty reasonable, but I think here we can just do like the slowest possible start. So we'll still keep boarding control on the remote server. If it does what it wants to do, it does what it wants to do until we find out what this deck is. Could be Amakua, could be World Tree, and we'll see. Again, it is 56 cards. Liberated is not what I'm expecting. So Banhar is a great start. That is going to be annoying. We want 2 ice on the remote server. We have Angelique end the line. We can set up some pretty rude interventions really quickly. We just need a public trail. Are we okay giving a tag to Seb? I think we are. So we'll do new remote server. I'm just going to advance a card. This is one that advancing actually does something. Now advancing the other ones both gives information. It's like the same as clicking for a credit, and like triple advancing Whoredam only matters if you're expecting an AI, and I don't think we're expecting an AI. There are AIs that work well with Seb, like Amakua and God of War, but it does give information. You know for sure this is not a boarding control. You know it's not a hammer, and that actually could be more impactful in the matchup. Okay, Mimic. This looks like an interesting list. Now, we're not worried about Mimic. I think all of our sentries are at least 4 strength, but you can go pretty far with the fixed strength breakers and just the help of your friends, the Aguacera's Crew. I often don't like committing cards programs to the table. Like I like to face check first. Talk about the face check. So here, we're not going to res because we do not care. The worst case is you trash Angelique for 2, but if we res, you get cards from raindrops, and Seb is really card hungry. Now pray no Ferris or Logjam. Oh, it's Banhar. I missed that. All good though. Yeah, that's actually very risky. I realized it's a Banhar, and if it's a Banhar there's a lot of ice that could just kill you on the fly line. Oh, it's a Whoredam that could have done 2 damage. You draw 2 cards. Nah, it's fine. So I don't mind. Charlotte, that's fantastic. So that's generally the thing we want in their first server. So we need to draw into a way to give tags. Now, if this Seb unfortunately floats a tag, we're going to be coming for Seb very, very quickly. So we'll see. Again, some of the Seb decks do want to float tags, but a public trail top deck can end the game this turn. If we top deck the public trail, the game is over right there, which is a bummer. Banhar in server 1, 2 cards in hand. Boarding control on the Whoredam, we can res both of them. Raindrops, we're going in, 3 cards in hand. I think here we're going to protect the Charlotte, so we'll res the boarding control. That will be 2 damage, which will be refilled. Unfortunately, now we have to res the Whoredam too, which is 2 more card draw. So we're going to fire that. Took out a strike fund to make money. This is going to be a really good run. Here on 7 credits, man, it's how much effort we're doing for the Charlotte. They're going to appreciate the card draw for sure. Now on 6 credits, I don't know what you're worried about here, but now you have a full read on the ice on the server. It looks like an agenda, but you did draw like a lot of cards. That was a really, really good raindrops. That's a very good raindrops. Arguably, we could have not res and just got 3 credits from Charlotte. That might have been correct. Now Strange knows what they need for this remote server. Running HQ, that's totally fine. We can't res the Whoredam here. We could if we crashed Charlotte, but we have no agendas. Hitting the Audacity. Okay, so they know 2 cards in hand and the line on Audacity. Charlotte goes Burr. There's another Charlotte. So we're definitely advancing this once. To think the rest of our turnout, we can get a tree line on HQ. We know that there's 8 agendas and 33 on R&D. That's going to be a problem for us. I'm worried about more archives pressure to some extent, because I do think I want to play around, what's it called? I do want to play around privilege access. So I will put this on archives. So we'll advance this once, and we'll advance this once, I guess. And we'll go from there and just try to hold the fort down. Hopefully they overextend while we have a public trail and then we do something mean about it. Mind you, this is, what's it called? When you take one of our tags. So in theory, we could public trail and they could install a card from hand for value. The problem is they could install, it has to be connections. I don't think there's any connection they can trash on our turn. HQ, we're just going to res the Whoredam just to take 2 cards out of hand. We need to make sure the Mimic Leech don't spiral out of control. We're going to hit a Steel Skin and a Miss Bones. This does maybe look like a World Tree deck. Miss Bones is really good. And we still have nothing in hand that we care about too much. Hitting the Audacity again. Leech is on 1 counter. 9 credits, 4 cards in hand. So even the top deck of the public trail doesn't get there. Devil Charm, scary. So Aguacera's Crew is going to nuke an ice. So we have to not spread ourselves too thin. We're going to need 2 ice on every server because we can very easily lose 1 ice. Ferris on HQ seems like overkill. The other option here is we can just do like Atlas Advance. If that's the case, do we have to worry about it if there's an Aguacera's Crew? Like still 41 cards. I think for Seb, unless you're playing World Tree, you really want to keep your deck size really thin because your best cards, which to me is mostly Aguacera's Crew, are so much more powerful than your average cards. That I feel like you need to watch out a bit. I think we do advance Crack Charlotte for the money we need because we need to still res some ice. And then we do Atlas advance. There's a chance that Attractor can deal with this. It's kind of contingent on finding a way to deal with the Hordem. Mind you, Banhart can deal with the border control once. If it's an Aguaceres crew, like, you still have to deal with the border control, and yeah, it's a possibility we actually do lose this agenda. Let's be honest. I'm just hoping for a 50 card deck. Like, you might not have it now. Friend of a friend, okay. You can either take tags or get rid of tags. Just getting out of hand to get the access here. Again, if we have an agenda, it probably goes on this remote server, so this HQ access is a bit expensive. Maybe we have like steel skins and strike funds in hand. We're just, yeah, there you go, ripping through our deck. We hit a daily cast too, so some cards that are not connections. That's very noteworthy because sometimes it's hard to float a tag. But getting the cards on hand means we can top deck a public trail, or especially with a Project Atlas token on a following turn, we can just get the tag from nowhere. Hitting a Pharos, okay. Still keeping our Angelique and our Charlotte safe. And it looks like we're going to get this Atlas with a counter, which is really, really powerful. So basically, if a Attractor at any point in time ends their turn with fewer than 8 credits or 3 cards in hand, or fewer than 4 cards in hand, we can just pull the counter with this. So the token feels great. What are we discarding? I want to keep the Angelique because it opens up, and we see that our runner here is definitely taking damage with Banhart, and rightfully so. It's good fun. So I think I'm going to get rid of Rashida. I think I like the Charlotte a bit better. And now at any point in time, if one of the conditions for end of line public trail happen, we're going to be able to pull it. There's a World Tree. Oh, this is Tuno's list, I think. This list is so cool. So here we have the Banhart mark. If we res this, it's going to be 1 net damage. We're down to 7, which is enough for the combo. And I'm pretty sure Attractor might not have enough cards in hand. Now, World Tree here, on the full list, that's 12 influence, and I think it's 13, 14 for Miss Bones, 1 for DJ Fenris. So we're not going to assume DJ Nuka. Sorry. Wow, hitting the strike fund, that's really good. We're not assuming there's going to be a Nuka in there. There's still 7 agendas in 30, though. So it's very likely this could be the last turn. We'll see what you use. It's either Leech, or it's probably the Liberated counts on 4 to get like a Manuel or Aguaceres crew, probably, to open up one of these servers. This deck is so cool. Mind you, Tuno played it at, I think, Man in the Moon's tournament and just made 9th place, and it didn't make the cut. Getting rid of the double charm for the mob. Whoa, that's frightening. Because we can now lose our end of line. That's expensive. Now we have to keep the runs out. That's super cool. Now, trashing Rashida means that we actually don't get Maud this turn. Now, obviously, you don't like to let the corporation draw Rashida, but the Maud there is super impactful. If Attractor doesn't draw up, unfortunately, that is game. So now here, we use the Atlas token. We go get a public trail. They can't pay for it. They're going to get a tag, so they can install a card from hand. It has to be a connection, though, so there's no way to clear the tag clicklessly. And then we're just going to end the line. That should be it. Good game. Yeah, it's hard to see that fork coming. It might feel a bit unfair. If players are playing around it, sometimes the games are, they can be a bit more interesting, but on turn 7, just having the second win condition that we forced to go fast, and if not, we catch up. And that's why the Atlas token is so valuable for a combo deck, especially with a 2-card combo. Yeah, I think if they win for the Maw there, we have a chance of like it being bad for us. Obviously, we get a Rashid in the remote. Yeah, this is the sort of issue. If people don't play around the public trail and the line combo, which I don't think I would. Games just end out of nowhere. That's sometimes good, right? Like bring it to Swiss tournament, close deck list. You can just win games you might not have expected to win. All right, we're playing against Zahya. We had a Zahya list recently come and win the NPC Boston. This could be the list. We're a bit weak to aggression. This opening hand has no ice. We definitely want some ice on the table. Thanks, you too. We have an early Charlotte, which is good. If we draw 1 ice here, we maybe have something. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that. That is actually totally fine. Icing up 2 centrals, advancing one of them with tree line is fine. We have public trail and a line. This could be a really short game. As long as they make a successful run and have fewer than 8 credits or 4 cards in hand, the game is just over. Sometimes that does just happen. So the question is, what do we want to put on the table? All this ice is res for the same and returns 1 credit on face check. And we'll see Zahya maybe face check. So we can do, I think Hordem on HQ we're happier about. Actually, tree line's still pretty annoying. And then we want to go, we have more barriers than code gates. So we want to build a 2 ice remote server. We want to do code gate barrier. So we'll keep Hordem for the remote server. We'll just go ahead and advance one of these. As soon as you advance this card, this might be wrong. We might have wanted to advance this one. Because as soon as you advance this, maybe you know it's not a Winchester, you know it's not a hammer. All the advanced ice, you know it's not, which does help our runner make some decisions here. So it's not always strictly correct to advance the cards. We could just click for credit. The thing is with tree line, you do want to advance it because it just gets better. So we will, but just keep that in mind. It does matter. So we have the combo, end of line public trail. This could be a 1-turn game. We've already had one turn game so far. It's like not a thing that's been the meta, but classically for people who played Wayland back in like 2012 original core set, tag and to kill was like the thing you played around. And that was like the narrative behind all games. Yes, they're rushing, but can you keep up with also credits and cards in hand? Otherwise, they're just going to send, you know, very angry people to your house. We'll definitely res this. It gets us only to 3 credits, which means we can't res HQ. If we let the successful run through, they have way too much money, and then they get Zahya credits. They could go HQ here. We don't have enough money to res that. Worst case scenario, they learn about our deck. Best case scenario, they touch Hordem. Maybe worst case, they trash a Spin Doctor. I don't think we're too upset about that Paladin. So we don't have the money. We're going to have to get the money. I think we don't have to do much here. I think we install into a new remote server. We do advance, advance. And next turn, we can't really do these. We might see some HQ pressure here. But Paladin down early. This does look a bit like the last Zahya deck that was published, which is a tricky one to play. We're looking at 1 of each breakers, 2 Chesvas, I think. 2 inside jobs, 2 boomerangs. So the bit of tricks to get those accesses, but no diversion of funds. Dawkins Pass looks like we want to send it HQ. On 10 credits, we're definitely going to res this and fire it. Kurapura does not deal with tree line really well. We're going to get a credit back. So we are bankrupt, but we're keeping out that Zahya ability, which is quite okay. Here we might just install Spin Doctor, click for credits. Top decking, a best case scenario would be a Charlotte. Oaktown is a bit too rich. We install it, advance it, and then we're just hoping the Hordem hits or like holds out. But with both Boomerang and Inside Job, that seems a bit much. It seems a bit ambitious. If that's the case, we'll put this in server 1 and click for 2 credits, and hopefully they expend something on this, like a Boomerang or Inside Job. Worst case, they trash a Spin Doctor. That could help. And again, as long as we have 7 credits, we can still threaten this. In theory, 6 credits gets us there because we can do credit, public trail, and align, but we need all that to line up. This is why we do it. So our choices here are res the Hordem, going down to 0. That will eat the Boomerang, and we kind of want to eat the Boomerang. We can strand the Boomerang, but if we're stranding the Boomerang, we basically lost our remote server. So I think we probably should res this. There's a chance that we don't, and then the deck is only on 1 more Boomerang, but the problem is I think we're going to need this Hordem to win the game. So they can get through. We can res the Spin Doctor. We can let them trash it for 2, because at the end of the day, we have another one and we don't care. They probably don't. We'll at least res it. So they're going to Boomerang through that. We'll res the Spin Doctor. That's not what we want to see there. In theory, if they Inside Job HQ, they can do a lot of damage. Because again, we've drawn through 10 cards. We've seen no agenda so far. Inside Job HQ, Dawkins Pass these 2. Like, it seems like a good run. We're happy if they trash this. We can always shuffle this back in for no reason, but we don't have to. So them paying 7 there is, or down to 7 is fine. We just have a money issue here. We just need to be able to afford a second ice here. A lot of times against criminals, you want to slow down a bit, and that's where like the HQ pressure really lines up. So we could do Spin Doctor in server 1, credit, discard Cityworks, discard Atlas. I think Oaktown's our first agenda for sure. Oh, we probably have to draw once then. We want to hold 2 agendas in hand? Not really, but I'm not drawing Glass Click. Cityworks is actually pretty good against criminal. They have to eat a lot of cards to steal it. Like, we're expecting a card from hand to steal it. It's just like we can't really afford to get this to high numbers. We just want to get our combo up. They have good money. Let's see if they run this. It would have to be an Inside Job, if anything. Currently, their decoder is probably, I'm assuming, Shibboleth, which breaks Hordem for, I think, 3 to 4. Or Thrice, good card draw. Getting that down cheaply without Paladin. Oh, that's not good. Unfortunately, I don't think we have a play here. We put Spin Doctor in the remote server. If we res Spin Doctor, the only econ we can draw into here is Charlotte, which is not the best. We might just have to click for 3 and do nothing, which feels really bad. Hammer on the remote server is a bit expensive. We can just get this on HQ, and then just click for 2. That's probably fine. We're going to really need to top deck a Charlotte here. A Rashida is fine. A hedge fund is fine. So we might draw the Spin Doctor next turn. And we know the agendas, there's only 5 in R&D. Obviously, there's 3 in HQ and 1 in Archives. So there's actually 4 in R&D. And they don't know what this is. Obviously, it's not a Charlotte or Rashida. We probably would have fired it. So it looks more like a defensive upgrade. I'm not sure what you're expecting in a built the last deck. Maybe Isaac, but we probably would have rezzed it by now, as expensive as that is. How much of the Burst Economy they played? 2 Sure Gambles and a Bravado. So it's a fair bit. The deck technically has a shelf life for economy. Like, at some point it runs out. It's going to be a while till then, but like, it's Paladin, Poemo, Boomerang is the infinite econ engine, but the Chesvas are like what really drives you. Otherwise, there's a lot of like tempo positive events and daily casts. Wake. Okay, good. We need to make HQ hard to run. The deck usually only has 1 of Wake. They lost to Carmen due to meat damage. Wait, that's huge. The deck only has 1 killer usually. Now it can still cheat through Hammer through multiple ways, but none of the ways that cheat through Hammer besides Inside Job are particularly strong. Do we Spin Doctor here? I don't think so. Nah. That's good. That's what we want. So we'll Spin Doctor back in these 2 cards. We'll install Rashida in server 1. Fortunately, here we just click for a credit and we throw out, I think, an end of the line. Obviously, we're a bit flooded. It is what it is. If the Rashidi gets pinholed, the Rashidi gets pinholed. It's fine. They actually can contest us. We can't res everything. We're credit short of resing the border control, but that hopefully expends resources from them. We need to be able to res this hammer because Boomerang run HQ is like very, very bad for us. We just need to make sure the hammer gets up. Hermes, okay. Oh, the bad thing's happening. This is a really good play. We might have actually wanted to like use our spin doctor a bit more aggressively, but it's very likely that we're going to be destroyed by this play. This can happen when you don't like draw that well against criminal. Like you need to do a lot to make things work. I'm going to pre-res the Rashida just so it can't get bounced. So best case, they steal nothing, obviously. That's super unlikely. Atlas, not a good start. Public trail. Okay, cool. They know we are on public trail. That could have gone way worse. Zahya gets 2. Boomerang gets shuffled back. 2 barriers here. Good. Rashida will allow us to ice up HQ, which is nice. And then if the hammer fires, it does a lot of damage. Second daily cast. Okay. 4 cards in hand, 4 credits. Not that we can threaten. In theory, if they had 1 fewer credit, we actually could threaten the win. If they had 1 fewer, card in hand. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So we have the end of the line. So we can do public trail, trash a daily cast. We don't really want to do that. If anything, we'll trash a twinning. But ideally, we get them to a state where they overextend. So now we need to ice up centrals. Double tree line's pretty good. Kurapir will struggle against that. We can also do hoard him into tree line. That's fine as well. I think that's okay generally. Our remote server's pretty good. Hammer's pretty good. What are we discarding here? An end of line, I think. Probably an Audacity considering our hand. So we have to discard 2 cards. So the Audacity's going to go and the second end of line's going to go. Unless they flow tags, the second end of line doesn't really matter. But now they have to assume we have more agendas in hand. Like we've only drawn more cards. On 5 credits, we can barely res 1 more ice. And if they make a successful run again, we're short of the public trail and the line kill. So it's all about them respecting it. They know we have public trail. And maybe if they run archives and see 2 end the lines, they think we gave up on that, which like that's sometimes a good thing for you. As much as we definitely haven't. Pre-advancing to Hermes is really rough. Maybe we should get the advanced tree line here so that it doesn't get bounced. Buy advanced archives. Draw 2 install. We just need a top deck, a hedge fund, or a Charlotte. We just need some money here. We don't have the money play. Maybe we should have not iced HQ turn 1 because we know the deck is not on diversion. And that's the only thing we really care about. If Zahya runs HQ and sees 2 cards, whatever. Let's see a twinning. There you go. So now this can be building every turn. There's a shibboleth. So you actually can run HQ. It's going to be a bit expensive. Down to 4 credits. So if this public end of line was a retribution, we actually could trash a breaker. That's always like the hard thing. We haven't played against Shaper so far. Oh, actually we did. It just wasn't a very long game. So here we can do Oaktown, advance, advance. I think it's the best play we have. It puts us on 9 credits, which means we can res 2 ice. And it gets us out of hand. If this gets scored, they can bounce something. We can repair it mostly. But this is already, what is it? 3 credits and then they can't break the border control. So the only winning line here is like inside job or boomerang. And then at least we can trade the border control and force them to run this twice. That being said, they have more money than we think we do because they're going to be on 8 credits with the daily casts. But maybe they're going to tunnel here on Wake and Plan and C2 on RD. Regardless, we have the setup here for end of line public trail. And the deck is not running, I don't think, no free launch or any sort of like instant speed tag removal. So if they do overextend here, either on cards and credits, we're in an okay spot. And sometimes you got to take risks. Like, yeah, sure, this is maybe a saleable, but we just have to force it. With this in our hand, we have to force the issue. Be like, I don't think you can do this and stay safe. Draw 1. Inside job on their remote server. Pretty good. We can still potentially beat this. That drops us down to 5 credits, which is not great. So now they still have to break this, port them, and if they do, we can still end the run with border control. Which means they just have to run back and it's even more money. The problem though is we've just spent 4 credits. So here they probably bounce the HQ ice. Pay 4, not giving us a credit. So now we actually can end the run here. And now it's like they have to spend their whole turn getting back in. If they do that, they'll still have enough cards in hand. Maybe they don't. Is this a boomerang? It's a boomerang. They play a run event here, maybe, but we don't have enough money. This is close. So they're going to steal the Oaktown, bounce something. They're going to be on exactly 4 cards in hand. Fortunately, our remote server was not good enough. No surprise. They're on game point. We have 2 3-pointers somewhere in R&D. They get an Oaktown bounce. Sorry, a Hermes bounce off the Oaktown steal. Probably the tree line because it has advancement on it. Like, that's usually what you do. And so now we've seen 2 inside jobs. Sorry, 1 inside job, 1 inside job. And 2 boomerangs are back in circulation. Hedge fund's a good draw. I wish we had something to jam in their remote server. Here we can do public trail end the line, but we want to wait 1 turn for that to really matter. Our remote server, we probably want to do a tree line there. So we can do hedge fund. We can put the hammer in R&D because it's gross. I think we're just going to advance this once. It's nice to keep your hand padded. We don't really need to go down to 4 cards. And then we can build a tree line advanced remote server from there. Ideally, we're top decking again once more Charlotte. We haven't seen any pinholes, and a lot of times if we have a face down card, they might consider pinholing it to check. And it comes down to having fewer than 4 cards in hand and fewer than 8 credits, which this turn they probably don't interact. And that's the problem. If you're not pushing on the board state, they can just set up and like do money. We don't want them to draw and do money. Also, being on 4 points makes it hard to like do a CityWorks project. Hedge fund? Sorry, sure gamble. Sure gamble, they're on 9, throwing out an extra Hermes. That makes sense. We have the CityWorks project. That's the worst case scenario here, because we cannot make this run difficult. Now, Shibboleth into Hordem is really bad for them. There's still a Boomerang and an Inside Job. Man, we used to have 2 Logjams in this deck. Now we only have 1, and that card's really good against Boomerang. This is the matchup where you want it for sure. Maybe I cut it a bit too quickly. I think we just push it here and say again, like maybe you can make it in here, but if you don't, so be it. And it's worth noting, if they have more than 8 credits, but they have fewer than 4 cards in hand, you can always do public trail in the line. That's obviously 11 credits, which is a bit expensive. But with this Atlas token, we have the ability either to draw the second public trail or an econ card if we need it for the combo turn. That being said, you can't play that and an econ card because that's 4 clicks, but they might just let this Atlas go through. They don't need to run it, and technically they're on game point anyways, so if they run this, whatever, this might look like a Charlotte to them. 11 credits, 5 cards in hand. Paladin Pueblo is definitely going to install something. We're expecting a breaker here. They're down to 14 cards, mind you. It's a 40-card deck, but that is turn 10. It's actually slower than I thought it'd be. I thought this was like turn 6. We've not been pushing turn after turn. Every push they've been able to contest. Inside Job again? Are you kidding me? What is this? That's the last Inside Job at least. So now if they want to break this, it's really expensive. It's at least 4 credits, and then we can still border control it. And then maybe they have the Boomerang, like the exact same play they had a turn ago. That's going to be a problem. They broke all of it, not giving us a credit. I'm surprised. But they're just sending it, saying, hey, you have something in the remote server, I'll check it out. So now they need Boomerang. They can do credit run. No, they're credit short. If we score the Atlas, the Hordem probably gets bounced on HQ. That's not good for us. Don't have the Boomerang. Come on. Oh, Chezo, that's fine. Okay. So we can score this with a counter. The other option is we can do hedge fund and just score it and let something get bounced. I think we need to keep our money up. So I'm going to do the hedge fund. I think I'm going to put a tree line there on there, and I'm going to advance it once. Now, this is strange. Obviously, if they run HQ, they have a big chance of winning here. They have to beat the Hordem, which is expensive. Chesva does save you 2 credits on it. They have to beat the tree line. So this is obviously a bit of a risk. But we're so far behind, I think we have to take a risk like this. There's like no way around it. I think there's a hope that they tunnel R&D with the Wake implant. Mind you, if the hammer hits, it's very expensive. But it can trash both the twinning and it can trash the Chesva. That's something. But they have to figure out how to break the tree line, and Kurapir is pretty expensive. It's 5 credits, mind you, 2 of them from Chesva, so that does help a lot. Bioban's Archives, that's a start. Now they made a successful run, so we have public trail end of line potentially. Now they know that we have a public trail in hand. They see us discarding 2 end of lines, so we'll see if they respect that again. It's a big part here. They're installing first, then drawing 2. Oh, that's really cool, Class Act. Yeah, that does make sense. I've never seen that interaction. So now they have no money, but they have a lot of multi-access. They can swipe HQ with twinning. But if they overinstall somehow, which is really difficult with Paladin, you can't use Paladin on Class Act. You can use Chesva though on the Bioban's run, which is really, really cute. So that's the issue, is like if we score this Atlas with a counter, they can bounce the Hordem. And if they bounce the Hordem, a single Boomerang wins the game, guaranteed. So we probably have to just advance this as a 3-2 and not get the counter and then just repair HQ. Which, like, it's just a matter of time before we lose. If they bounce the ice on R&D, like, so be it. Not much we can do about that. Like, we'll still repair it, but we'll hope for the better. Mutual favor, 4 cards in hand. They're going to get down their Kurapira. Yeah, okay. So we should be scared. They now have 8 cards in hand. At least that's not on top of R&D. So Hermes, we'll see what they bounce here. We don't have end the run sentries. We have annoying sentries. Okay, so they're going to go R&D, it seems. If we install this, we get on to 6 credits. There's a chance that we just click for a credit here and keep padding an HQ. Like, if they do Kurapir through the tree line, like, the problem is they have too many cards in hand. This is exactly the matchup where you want Retribution, because these breakers don't come back. If you trash the Kurapir, you trash the Shibboleth, like, all they have is 2 Boomerangs. And then you can, like, very slowly build a board state, which, like, will keep them out. But we're definitely feeling no Charlottes, which is exactly what we need here. See them send it. Like, they can see 5 cards from the top of R&D. Twinning, Wake and Plant. You see 2 from this, 1 from that. So it's only 4 cards, but they gain 4 credits back, right? Like, it snowballs so bad. And this is only a bit cheaper with Chesva. Credit, credit, credit. Are they going to be discarding a couple cards? I think they can get away with it. But they're probably running here. Let's see if they have a Bravado. No, they can't Bravado. They don't have enough money. We probably should advance this tree line, let's be honest. But at some point, it just becomes a Boomerang target. Okay, they could just boomerang run this. I think that's what they're doing. It gets another twinning charge, which is good. They want to install one thing a turn to hit twinning. Yeah, there you go. And so they're going to run R&D. They're going to see 2 from twinning, 1 from wake implant. We could lose. We're luckily holding one of the 5/3s, so that's the one that we just like straight lose in. So it's 1 in 22. They don't charge crew appear here. They can still use chest with the trash cards. They're going to discard 2 cards from hand. It's not the end of the world. Let's see how bad this is for us. This locks the deck, which is really important. And they're going to make good money off of this. They're seeing as many as they can. I wonder if we should just play snare. Not a lot of folks are respecting snare. 4 cards, nothing. Now that's terrifying because it means it's more likely that they're going to now run HQ. Because if you don't see agendas on R&D, where are you seeing agendas? Gain 4 credits back to us. They know we have a Rashida. They didn't trash that. It's very smart. Okay, so looking at the hand here, there is 1 more twinning. With the wake implant and 2 breakers, you're probably sending an HQ. That means that we could consider playing public trail, trashing the twinning. It's going to cost us most of our money and we can't res the Hordem anymore, so that's not good for us. If we do Oaktown Advance in the remote server, Tree Line, mind you, is broken for 4, Hordem is broken for a bit. I think that's the best we have here, just get cards out of hand. We know we don't have to ice up the top of R&D, so the question is whether you run HQ and you find the City Works. There's a chance that we could uninstall Advance. The thing with City Works is like they don't have to respect it when they're on game point. They can just have at least 4 cards in hand and that's it, which is not great for us. Also, this is advanced, so they're pretty sure it's not a sentry. There is technically, I think, only 1 advanceable sentry in the whole format, which is Colossus. But Boomerang run server 1 is like kind of a problem for us. And then they can run HQ maybe after that. So I think we're in a bad spot here in general. 1 good run on HQ, not going to be good. We have a very, like a 20% chance of surviving. Now, they didn't trash the Rashida, so they know 1 card in hand. If they saw Spin Doctor, I imagine with the Chesva, they would have trashed it. So maybe they overextend here, but again, they have to be fewer than 4 cards in hand because you can't do public trail end of line because you remove the tag. Not that we have the 2nd or 3rd end of line. I think they're running it. Credit run. Makes sense. Puts them on game point. Oh, just 3 credits. Okay. Oaktown, we can score out and we can repair damage. Charlotte, they saw that too. So they know the next 2 cards on R&D. We're on game point technically. If we can find a window where they don't have cards in hand, it's going to be difficult. Let's see what they bounce. Probably the HQ ice. Definitely the HQ ice. So we need to put back a Hordem, which is kind of expensive. We can put back a Hammer. Hammer will do a lot more work for us. I think here we throw out the Rashida. We'll keep the Charlotte. We actually could throw out the City Works project. I don't think they're going to run archives. The only reason they run archives generally is like a buy-a-bands for value, and they've already played 2 of them. They'll probably buy-a-bands R&D. Boomerang, we're running HQ. Now this is interesting. They're going to see most of HQ. We're cooked. Like if we can't control our agendas, this does get you. Like twinning Docklands, there's no escaping from it. Now, if they break the Hammer, they can only break 1 subroutine on it. And so trash a resource or piece of hardware, that will lose the twinning. So if we survive this, well, they're going to have a lot of money. But if we survive this, they're going to take a tag and lose the Chesva. They still have enough money. But the question is, what do they break on it? They have to keep their twinning. And now they can see 2 cards with Docklands 3/4. So it's a 20% chance we survive, which is super unfortunate. I feel like we didn't have a chance here. Let's see what they break here, because they can only break 1. So they're going to have a tag. Technically, if we survive this 20% chance, they die to end the line. Choose a program that's not a fractor. Okay, no choices. But actually, they die if they miss this 20%. That Hammer was, wait, huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's not enforced on JNet, but with Boomerang, you can't break more than 1 subroutine because it's a killer. Because it's not a killer, excuse me. So they would have to take the tag. Now they know what we're going to trash on the program. That's not really any information. That's the only legal option. So either they lose the twinning or they take a tag. Which means if they whiff this, they die to end the line. So that's actually a hard choice. I'm pretty sure you just go for the twinning and assume we have 3 points in hand. They haven't seen any 3-pointers, so give me the tag. Yeah, cool. You can take it yourself. Actually, we'll give it. So now if they whiff this 20% of the time, we do have lethal. 20%. Unless they don't use the twinning for some reason, which would be pretty wild. Especially because they're tagged. They're going to use it. Break for 5. And we hope. Good. Good. No! We almost got there. Oh, we almost got there. GG. Just needed to survive that run. Didn't think I was likely. Now, if we didn't have the 3-pointer in hand, they're dead there 100% of the time, but we just have to survive that, which is unfortunate. And yeah, now they're going to have 3 cards in hand and a tag, so guaranteed that we wipe them. The problem is they're seeing, again, all but 1. But yeah, no, you definitely send it there for the twinning. Otherwise, you lose the twinning. There's a chance you could lose the twinning because you have another twinning coming up. It's whether or not you play around the end of line. Yeah, they saw 2 in the bin, so like, what's the chance you have the 3rd one? And that's because we definitely have the 3rd one. But I could see board states where you just throw it out because you don't think it's worth counting on. It seems like it was right, actually, to throw out the City Works and Archives. Bummer. That's always worth keeping in mind. Do you think they're going to run archives? Maybe with only one buy a bands, that was our line out because we have 2 spin doctors. It looks like the cards they saw on the top of the deck, they didn't trash. So whether it's a spin doctor or not, they just want us to draw those cards because it doesn't control the game. So there's actually no agendas for a long time. Mind you, we did draw a lot of them. So yeah, throwing it out actually was a winning line. It's good to keep in mind. But criminal pressure is really rough. Like if you can't push into the remote server because you're like worried about inside jobs and boomerangs, they do kind of accrue in the hand. Let's run it back. Good game. All right, we're playing against Sable. I think we've almost exclusively played against Sable today. Our opening hand, we have ice for centrals. We have no economy. Some of our most expensive ice, the most expensive ice in the deck. We can mulligan this and then have a chance that we just draw really poorly and then it goes from there. Our play against Sable generally in the early game is just like the ice up centrals. So we could do like tree line and HQ, hammer on R&D, click for a credit. I think that's fine. Like the spin doctor probably draws us into play in the next couple turns. We're going to keep this. It's like we could probably high roll for a better, but I think this is fine. If we top deck a Charlotte or Rashida or an economy play like a hedge fund, then we're back in it. Sick. Okay, great. Fantastic. So we need to keep Sable out. Pharaohs is pretty good on centrals. It's pretty good on remote server too. We're going to have to spend 7 credits to keep them out of HQ, but we definitely want to keep somebody out of HQ for sure. So I think we're just going to hammer R&D because it's annoying. One of these is on the remote. One of them is on the central. Now, Pharaohs is really expensive. If we res it, the tag kind of matters. I think we're okay with putting just the tree line in HQ and we'll put Pharaohs on the remote server. And eventually we might get it to 10 strength if we do. Here, this is interesting. HQ is the mark. If it wasn't the mark, I might not res here. But because it's the mark and it gets us on 6 credits, we can res. And we won't res hammer unless it actually connects. Blueberry Diesel, that's interesting. That makes me worry that this is another J Chinyo deck and you're just trying to find your cards because you don't see often Blueberry. It's a J Chinyo deck. That's Logic Bomb. It's a J Chinyo deck. Okay, that means we want to get another ice on central servers. We, against J Chinyo, really only have to protect one server heavily. So we can start with the Spin Doctor to get some options. Okay, Atlas in hand is Atlas in hand. Border control is very good into Logic Bomb. It's very unfair into Logic Bomb. So we can put this on HQ and we can advance this once. Because once you use the Logic Bomb and you lose all your clicks, we can just crack the border control. So this server is relatively safe. Now, Logic Bomb still works on remote servers. And if we can force them into running the remote server when we have something in there like a Charlotte or a Rashida, that looks like an agenda, that's great for us. And then we'll probably do Pharaohs. Hopefully something more cheap. Like we just need a top deck or a Charlotte. Charlotte's just like the best card in the deck. But this looks definitely like a J Chinyo deck. Unless it's just like spamming legworks. HQ is the mark, daily cast. Networking. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Damn, we're good. I think we're just gonna do Pharaohs, install Advance. We can always res the Pharaohs if we need to. And then we can maybe keep Charlotte. This is weak to Pinhole, as most assets are, turns out. So we'll see. Like if the Logic Bomb eats a Pharaohs and Jangteki loses a bunch of their clicks, I think we're okay with that idea. We have an end of line in hand too, worth keeping that in mind. Buy a bands, running archives, no action. So see generally what you install here. This is a good first run here. So if they do go for a J Chinyo, they could install the first blade here. I'm assuming this is a J Chinyo. Logic Bomb might use 5 influence, right? Like that's a lot of influence. So we've seen so far 6 influence with Biobands Logic Bomb. Maybe that's why you can't afford the base flavor diesel. It's also interesting too, like you have access to the threading one. Not pinhole threading, a backstitching, which is like Logic Bomb but inconsistent, but also a lot cheaper. It looks like this is a J Chinyo run. Boomerang, we're going HQ. R&D, mind you, is the mark. Funny enough, if you hit a hammer, we trash the boomerang. Carpe diem R&D. Okay, thinking. So this looks like a J Chinyo. The question is, you get a mark back here. So if we res the hammer, we can trash, give the runner tag. We can either trash the Logic Bomb or the boomerang. We're down to 1 credit, which means you can contest the remote server. How bad is this run for us, right? Like, if we don't res here, he gets another click. They get another click. Then they can run HQ. If we res the border control, then you have to like Logic Bomb the border control, strand the boomerang. I don't think we res the hammer. It's like almost very good. Also, just resing the hammer to trash the daily cast is interesting, but I think we don't do it. If we had 2 agendas in hand, maybe it's still 1 and 3. Like the first knife, I'm not worried about. The second and third knife is where we're going to start to like do stuff. I'm assuming this is a knife deck. There's like no way it's not. Unless they exploit us. If they exploit us, like we don't want to res dice. That's the like run 3 central servers, de-res 3. That's a good card potentially when we don't have the money. S. Debrato. Okay, definitely J Chinyo. So Debrato says the first ice you encounter, bypass it. So that puts the 2 things on the same. I don't care. If we top deck a end of line or a public trail, we win. So it strands the boomerang slightly. Like, for what it's worth, you can't Vibrato, but like, it looks like Boomerang the remote server is the line that we're more worried about. But sometimes Jade Shinyo, you just want to like kill, kill, kill. Shit, they got the Atlas. That's fine. They're a Jade Shinyo deck. They don't like points. So we're gonna see a knife installed. I don't think you can afford to play the toolbox if you're playing Logic Bomb. Assuming the knife is one of the 3 cards in hand. Otherwise, that's a lot of effort to run 3 central servers. Oh, they have the Wizard Chest. What the heck? And there's the knife, so no surprises there. They can do the Wizard Chest first. Now, they can't get another Jade Shinyo because it's unique. But they can get another Wizard's Chest, I guess. And we see their deck here. So you see Engineering, Career Fair, Blueberry, Earthrise, so no surprises. A bunch of networkings for some reason. 3rd Wizard's Chest, so they're cycling through. So now they can get their console. It's a Hermes. Okay. So if we top deck one of our 3 copies of Public Trail, we win the game. But imagine. So we're going to advance her once for sure. And then we're just going to try and make servers that are hard to run. With 1 card in hand, we're not too worried. The Boomerang's stuck here, but we have a Boarding Drill. Boarding Drill is good into Logic Bomb. Pharaoh's is doing pretty good on its own for now. I think a second hammer is annoying, but expensive. I think we can let Archives be uniced. We can just put this on R&D. We can just advance this once and we can just chill. We're generally good at chilling against the Jade Shinyo deck because our ice is pretty good and scales well into the late game. They haven't seen the end of the line yet, so they don't know we're on a kill combo. And if we're drawing 2 cards a turn, gaining 4 credits, like we have to force them to run is the problem because we need a successful run for Public Trail. Career Fair for Class Act, a lot of cards. Let's keep drawing with Charlotte. Damn, just a bit late. Okay. So we're going to set up the server and we're going to push next turn. So we'll advance this once, we'll advance Logjam once, and then likely next turn we'll install Advance Oaktown. That should give us enough money. Mind you, Charlotte's absurd. Like, it is a lot of money in Built to Last. And hopefully we can res most of this and then get them into a spot where they don't have cards in hand. It looks like they're using cards in hand as a way to cheat around ice. They know they want to install Jade Shinyo, so there's a chance that Public Trail on the line will just get them. If they play like a no free lunch, that's an issue for us. That's for sure. But this, mind you, is expensive. This costs 11 credits. Sorry, 13 credits. This costs 12 credits. Like, we could greed Charlotte for a turn later. Melandra Gem. Bypass an ice of 3 or less strength. So Hammer doesn't work, Board Control works, Tree Line doesn't work. That's fine. I think we advance Charlotte, remove her for 3, trash her, Oaktown advance, and say, you can go this turn. They're going to be a 6 credits, 5 cards in hand. Mark is R&D, and we can res, I think, every piece of ice without having to worry too much. Mind you, in the remote server, we generally only have to res 1 of them. Inside job is the start. Okay. So HQ is the 1 run we don't care about, but this is also the 1 run that we can Board Control. So we have to do a bunch of math here. We res the Board Control and then they boomerang the Tree Line. We can strand the boomerang. The deck obviously has like 2 more boomerangs in it. But we can res this so that they have to use the boomerang. That might be bad. Then if they run R&D, it's Hammer. Hammer they have to deal with because it's going to deal with it'll trash a Melandra Gem. It'll trash a Jade Shinyo. I think we don't res this. I think we just res 2 hammers. The problem is if they Vibrato R&D. Maybe it's right to res the Board Control. I don't think it is. The first run's just like not working, so we're just running it back. Board Control, fantastic. The least telling access. So Melandra Gem cannot bypass Hammer. Ooh, this is good. Buy bands to get some options, so you can get down another Logic Bomb. Logic Bomb is still pretty good. They have the Jade Shinyo pre-installed. That's a second knife. Like, it could be over in another turn if they have it. If that's the case, we have to do a lot. Like, maybe we needed to res the Board Control to force out the boomerang. I think that's probably true because it slows them down a turn because they have to get through this thing somehow. Phaserum, that actually works relatively well. Now it costs money, which is important. So this hammer, you can bypass it for 3. The second hammer, you can't Melandra Gem it, so you can Logic Bomb it. That might be good enough. You get a click back, which is really cool. So this hammer is going to fire. That means we trash the Jade Shinyo. That's kind of sick, isn't it? Oh, they're Logic Bomb it. So they have no clicks left, but they get a click back. It's such a cool interaction. Luckily here, though, unless they draw, they will die. They drew. Second Jade Shinyo. Pretty bad for us. Let's be honest. Not good. 4 cards in hand. So what can we do about this? We just need to put more ice on centrals. So I think we'll put a Board Control on R&D, a Hornum on HQ. We'll advance the Oaktown once. 13 credits is maybe enough to res most of this stuff. Melandra Gem now can bypass anything, which is... Oh, no, it can't because it's threat 4. I saw all the cards in their score area. I'm like, we're definitely on threat 4, right? But now we're scared. There's the 3rd one. The fight is on. So now the question is, can they kill us before we kill them? Big issues, we installed this ice before scoring out the Oaktown, and that's going to bounce one of these ice. That's pretty bad for us. There's no way around it. That's bad for us. Do we just lose here? There's no way to run the Oaktown. So I think we just like stack the servers. I don't want to advance because it says it's not a border control. So we're just going to leave it. I don't care if they steal 2 points. Maybe we should res the boarding control. Now we can always purge. Okay, they overinstalled the boomerang. That's interesting. Inside job. Oh, they're going for it. Oh, they put the boomerang on the Pharaohs. I think we get a flatline here. That's fantastic. So thinking. So no matter what they res, they can bypass. So they're actually contesting their mode server, which is kind of sick. So this means that the most they can be on is 3 cards in hand and they'll have no credits. We don't have to res any of this stuff. They just go through it regardless and they steal the Oaktown. But luckily, we're just slightly ahead. If they were going for the assassination, we're going for the assassination as well. Steal an Oaktown, get a bounce a card. The most they can get up is the 3 cards in hand, unless they play a diesel here, which would be sick. That scared me. It looked like a diesel. So funny thing, I was also going for the assassination. It turns out we were both trying to kill each other. But I was a bit more very awkward. Call the ambulance, but not for me. Got there. That was scary. Good game. That was scary. Yeah, there's a chance that we could have read the border control. It's hard for me to math it out. Thanks, you too. But like that was really awkward. Maybe we needed to force out the boomerang, but they were getting there. It's just obviously cards in hand to econ. Every run on HQ, they missed one of our combo cards, so they had no idea we were trying to tag. All right, that's fun. All right, we're beginning Padma. We're seeing mostly criminal. Padma's fun. We have to ice up R&D. We definitely do. The question is like, can we just leave R&D open and just jam Treeline, Oaktown, build the remote server? And my answer is maybe not. The thing is like if Padma gets down an early Lobisomu, it's nice that we can tax it out with barriers, but it's like Trick Shot is just a hell of a card. Like you have to ice up R&D turn 1. If we get burnered, it also can be disastrous. So I'm going to mulligan. That hand's not bad. That's a better hand. Winchester of HQ, Treeline for the remote server, and then we can do Charlotte border control on the following turn, which is probably more our speed. Now I don't like having just an end the run because you can technically bounce it on R&D to charge with Padma. Ooh, Hammer's a bit better though. Actually, Hammer's a lot better, which is expensive. So we could do Winchester HQ. We could do Hammer R&D and then just click for a credit. That's fine. I think Hammer is probably just enough on its own. And then we can do a Treeline border control and stack barriers, which is pretty good into Lobisomu, which struggles to deal with a stack of barriers. So we'll just credit. Next turn, Treeline, Charlotte, advance Charlotte. Pretty straightforward. Now we can't really res most of this ice. We'll let HQ in probably. We don't really want to res Winchester unless it does something. It's not that different from Hammer. But like if Hammer is going to do something, that means you're charging something. So the 2 line up relatively well, as much as we don't want to go down to 0 credits. So like what's the best charge early? Like drop catalog or run is pretty goofy. After you play a sure gamble, you can kind of afford it, which is frightening. If that's the case, we might need to get an end the run in R&D. But at least Hammer can trash. Oh, DECKLISTS. Cool. All right. If we res this, we go down to 2 credits. That's more pressure than I thought from HQ. And they're threatening to trash Charlotte, which is really important. So I'm going to res it. Trashing a DECKLISTS seems nice. We might not. Like they could trace through it. They just can't trace through all of it. So the first part is trash a program. We don't care. Then trace 3 for hardware. And then trace 3 for end the run. We're not going to boost any of this stuff. We're just hoping that they spend enough money that it's hard for them to trash Charlotte. They paid for that. So let's see if they pay for the Axis. Again, if they pay for the Axis, they can't trash Charlotte or Angie. So we're pretty happy if they pay 6 for a central run. We paid 2 for it. They could just walk away from this though. Like you paid, technically you paid 5 for DECKLISTS pass on turn 1, which like, I'm not sure if you were expecting that. So we're totally safe. Boarding controls info, tree lines info, none of our installables, which is great. So if we do install Treeline, install Charlotte Advance, Nuka, nice. I think that's the best we have here. We honestly could jam City Works. With Nuka, we can't. What are we talking about? New remote server, Charlotte Advance. That puts us exactly to 3 credits. I thought it was 4 credits. Shit. So we can't res the Treeline. That's on me. We might have wanted to slow down 1 turn there. That being said, they still have to run this with having 2 credits. So it's still asking for a bit. They need to be able to trash this. Cool. In theory here, we can res Charlotte. If we res Charlotte and trash Charlotte, we can fire the Hammer. Hammer will give a tag and it will trash either DECKLISTS or Nuka, probably the Nuka. I think we can just let a single Axis in here. We know we're holding one of the big 3-pointers, so this Axis is unlikely. It can't trash anything, so we're totally fine with that. It's a bummer. But once Charlotte fires, that's when we like establish. We definitely need to establish, right? Like you have to let some Axes in the early game. Creative Commission last click would be the best case for them. Just credits. Okay. Go Charlotte. Break R&D lock. They see an end of line. Okay, we have to keep that in mind. They saw end of line. Now we can put border control in the outermost. We definitely advancing Charlotte once. We definitely want to stop cataloger if we can. So putting this on R&D is fine. And I think we just advance this once. So they know one of these is border control, one of them is a tree line. With the advancement, you can kind of guess which one's which. We have to watch out for their money because we have end of line in hand. We probably are going to jam a CityWorks project on top of an Angelique in the next couple turns. Hopefully once Dr. Nuka is empty. Now with Stone Ship, that play line's a bit more suspect. They might keep the Stone Ship around as like tag, like meat damage prevention, which would be pretty clever. But they can also use this to charge their cards. We don't know what the Breaker Suite is. I think there's a chance that we're on, what's it called? Lobisomu. Dag, yeah, we're probably on Lobisomu. Oh, there's the Orca, okay. So they just drew that. Unfortunately, we didn't rig it up. We're still good. Let's build a 2-barrier remote server. Please don't draw agendas like that. We can't advance any of the other ice in a way that makes sense. So from next turn, we're probably going to install Advance Atlas. We can install the Angelique, which is a bit suspect. It's like kind of nice. It looks like a defensive upgrade. It's not. Now, this obviously makes one single legwork or whatever on HQ win the game potentially. I don't think it's easy to bake with Winchester. Even if you get your Orca down, you're spending 4 credits, which is nightmarish. So we'll see what happens. But stacking the 2 barriers on R&D is on server 1's pretty good against what we're assuming to be a Lobisomu. We have to watch out. We only have 12 credits. We're going to have to res a bunch of this ice. So the money does go pretty fast. This is like the hard time I have sometimes with Padma. And we have to play Padma attack. Oh, Waken Plant. We're definitely going HQ. Losing a spark from hand. That can't be exciting. But the question is, how quickly do you deal with Winchester? I honestly don't know the answer. I think we can use Spin Doctor to control our hand. That's probably like prudent. The other idea is that we can put another ice on HQ. So we can do Tree Line Advance Charlotte. Now, you don't actually need Waken Plant to run HQ. You have to just charge it once. That you have to run HQ, and from then you can just cheat around it with Stone Ship and Dag. So, like, we're probably sure the Waken Plant is not going to run HQ maybe once a game, twice a game. But probably on, like, 20 credits next turn, we can jam the Atlas. Buy advance, successful run. That matters that we draw Public Trail. Just scraping by. Economy's not there. Nuka, down on 0 credits. Career Fair is a good start. Get down to Daily Cast. Okay, that's a good recovery. It'll be a couple turns, though. Just clicking for credit. Let's jam our first agenda. All right, Charlotte. We can advance Charlotte. We can install Atlas. We can advance Atlas. The other options, we can install Atlas, advance our Atlas, and then put a piece of ice somewhere. Hordem lines up okay into Lobisomu. Like, you have to boost. That's, like, fine for Lobisomu. The question otherwise is we're discarding 2 cards. We can also put Spin Doctor on the table, which plays a bit around a Cataloger, which we haven't seen yet. So we can do Cataloger, Atlas, Advance. That's fine, too. In theory, we should res the Spin Doctor. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Server 1. Advance, so we can get a counter. This means we can discard some cards. We're going to discard 1 CityWorks. I think we're going to discard Rashida. We're going to keep some agendas in hand for sure. I think that's fine. It might be nice, like, now we have enough points to win without having to worry about R&D lock, but this is another thing they have to contest, and this is hard to contest. Dag, mind you, said when agenda scored are stolen, but, like, you need to have a power counter on the card to charge the card. So if they're worried that we're going to score it out next turn, they definitely need to get an advancement on the Waken Plant first or a charge because they can't just free charge it. There's a Lobisomu getting it off the top. We see the rest of the deck, Airblade, Retrieval Run. So icing up Archives actually matters because that's how they're going to get their Orca. We definitely need to put an ice on Archives. Probably border control. I don't think we're threatened to score this thing out. We're going to respect Retrieval Run. Archives, advance. We can advance 1 more of these. This is now 5 strength, which is perfect because you have to boost twice. So 6 strength doesn't change anything. I'll just click for credit. But yeah, we saw a bit of the list there. And then Retrieval Run is how you throw out your Orca and feel okay about it. So at least we can trade a border control for it. There's the Catalogers as well. Burner. But we have a pretty good central ice situation. And Lobisomu, you can charge running R&D. But it's going to be hard to gain counters. Because we have mostly barriers on the table. And this is not like Kit where like you're guaranteed to charge. You're only guaranteed to charge now with Stone Ship, with Dag, and running R&D itself. And with Spin Doctor, we're okay against Cataloger. As much as we probably expected Trick Shot as well. Yeah, we see Trick Shots in the deck. Of course we do. Their money's coming up though, because we're not forcing them to do anything. We can score Atlas with 2 counters, which is pretty wild. I don't know if we need to. I think Atlas with 1 counter is fine. So do we score Atlas with another counter, or do we just score this and play Hedge Fund? Hedge Fund seems a bit greedy. Now, we haven't rezzed any of this ice, so I'm going to do it. Dag can charge Nuka or Lobisomu. I think you probably want to go Lobisomu. You have a lot of card draw already. Yeah, there you go. And so from this point on, we'll jam CityWorks, and then we'll try an Atlas Audacity for the win. because it's hard for them to run this remote server, have enough cards in hand for Angelique, Cityworks, and then end the line Public Trail. But they do have stone ships, so they're playing relatively safe. Environmental testing, do they on what? How do they charge this quickly? Hardware? Because like they can't be on Coalescence, right? They're just running this. I'm not sure why. Why are you running this? Spin Doctor? So now you have to use a Lobosomu charge. We're happy about this. This also makes the retrieval run harder to play. Now, if they let this fire, we just get a credit. It's not that bad. But this forces out a Spin Doctor. Okay. So we don't want to give them 3 points. So we're going to shuffle back in, I think, Charlotte and Cityworks. They made a successful run. I don't know if that matters. Like, are they on credit kiting to get down their Orca? There's the cataloger. Oh, to deal with the Spin Doctor. Okay, and Airblades. So now what we can do is we can do Public Trail. And if they don't pop their Stone Ship chart room, they lose the game. So it's on them. They draw. Fantastic. So now we can destroy their board. I think we can afford to destroy their board. So I'm going to start trashing things. Any other actions? Like, I'm going to trash this daily cast. I'm going to trash this environmental testing. And I'm just going to say you're not going to have money. So we'll get rid of 6 credits. We'll get rid of environmental testing. We're down to 12 credits, which is not a lot. Now, we still have a Project Atlas token and 12 credits. So, like, the next time they do this, actually, it might have been right to trash the Stone Ship. Because then the next time we go for that play, they still have to clear the tag here. Yeah, this is tricky. We might have overextended because we actually don't have that much money. That was like an 8 credit play. They still have to clear the tag largely. They could forget about it. It's easy to forget. No, they didn't. That's good. I've forgotten about our runners' tags on other turns. And now the question is, like, how quickly can they win from the cataloger? Hoping that the 2 City Works project is actually really good for us. Trick shot. Okay. So what are we rezzing here? They actually can't deal with hammer. So if we res the border control, we go down to 8. If we res the hammer, we go down to 6. If they hit the hammer, we give them a tag. We trash the cataloger. That seems good. I don't think we need to stop this. We're holding a lot of points. Hammer's pretty good. Now we're pretty poor. But it's a pretty mean sentry. We know where the Orca is in the bin. Fire all. So they have a tag. Choose a hardware or piece of a resource. So trashing the Stone Ship actually works for a win condition, but I'm going to get rid of the cataloger because it's a cataloger. We can't trash anything because this is technically a decoder and a fractor. Not that many cards in the game with 2 subtypes like that. I think they're only shaper cards. Now they can still see 2 cards here. They have a tag. They have to clear. They can run the Angelique. We'd be okay with that because it just sets up the end of line a bit easier. Oh, they steal an Atlas. They get to charge something. That's cute. I don't think Airblades does anything in this matchup, if I'm not mistaken. Now they're charging their remote server. So we have to think about the damage we can do. So they still have 6 credits working of house money. If we res the border control, that's not great for us. They break it for counters. So we'll just fire the Angelique and do 2 damage, I think. So we have to think about this, right? They trash this for free. We go down to 4 credits. They have to clear the tag. Now, if they clear the tag, we don't have the money to grab with Atlas to get the Public Trail. So, like, if we don't trash this, they clear the tag, they go down to 4 credits, we do Public Trail. Yeah, we probably just res this. Hit another trick shot and a Mind's Eye. That's the console. Very cool. So we're down to 4 credits. They have to beat the hammer somehow. Orca is not going to do it. We got 2 trick shots out, 1 cataloger. We are struggling. They've caught up. They've actually caught up. They're down to 4 credits. So if we had slightly more money and we pulled the Public Trail, they would just crack the Stone Ship, and that's not great for us. So now we need to build a remote server that is taxing for them, which means we just need to make money. Border control and tree line is an 8 credit res. If we install Advanced Atlas credit, we're only on 6. That's not good enough. I don't think we want to install code gates, right? Whenever it fully breaks a code gate, place 1 power counter. I think we just don't want to ever res code gates. So I'm going to just click and discard the Whoredom because then we can actually potentially tax out the Lobosomu. We're worried about an HQ run, that's for sure. Because of the Wake and Docklands. They can't charge the Wake if it has no charges on it. But we still have the access to the Atlas token, so we can always do Public Trail on the end of line. We probably should have trashed the Stone Ship. I think it was way more likely to trash the Stone Ship, because that's how they don't die. We haven't seen an Ashen yet, and that is the 2nd Stone Ship, so they probably have a 3rd one. But if they don't actually have another Orca, it's hard to retrieval run through a boarding control, that's for sure. 9 credits. Undo. Gain a credit. Creative. Oh, they just played a 1 click too soon. Okay. Rashida in the remote server seems totally cromulent. Credit. We're on 9. They have to consider running us. Again, the Stone Ship is really good for them. We have to force them into a situation where they have to use the Stone Ship to charge a card, I think. Earthrise draw 2. They only have 6 cards left and probably an Ashen. Once the Ashen comes back, we're cooked. But such as infinite runner decks. Career fair for another Earthrise or environmental. I'm not sure how they charge this. Like, how much more hardware? I guess if they're going to, like, catalog her down, that's good. Rashida, let's get some money. Okay, we have Charlotte, we have Above the Law. I think we want to go for the above the law. We can do install advanced tree line and just stack the barriers. Yeah, we have the public trail in hand. I think it's the best we have. We can do the Charlotte too, which is good. Here we're discarding some cards. I think it's 2 Charlottes. With 2 agendas out and 19 cards in R&D, like they should run HQ. And it's very easy for them to win in a like an HQ run, right? CityWorks and the Atlas or 2 CityWorks. So we need to just like force the issue here. Because if they're tracking divide by 5, like we've gone through 25 cards, we've seen 2 agendas. We've shuffled 1 back. So you're expecting a lot more. I think we're going to get this above the law. Stone Chip, nice. That's the 3rd Stone Chip. That's very important for them. Advance, score. We're now technically on game point. Choose a resource to trash. I think it'll be the Stone Chip. Dig can charge. We don't have much to do this turn. We can advance the tree line. Again, getting this to 5 actually does matter. They advanced the environmental testing. And this is our 3rd public trail. Why that matters is we can do public trail into public trail down the line. I don't think so. Next turn, we're just going to jam CityWorks project, install advance. The question is, we can't res this ice and then have enough money to threaten public trail in the line. And with Stone Chip, it's hard. That's why we trash the Stone Chip, because that's the one way they beat CityWorks project. Yeah, the problem is like this is our last 3 too. So if we put this on the table and score it, our Audacity is like next to useless. And then all the agendas left in the deck are installed face up, which is not great. So they have money. They have instant speed card draw. Hopefully they don't have Ashen. We can start counting influence. We saw a retrieval run. That's, I think, 2 influence, maybe more. 3, 4, 5 on Career Fair. They probably have another Mind's Eye. 6, 7, 8 on Wake. 9, 10 on Docklands. I'm imagining there's a DJ. They probably have an Ashen. There's a retrieval run. So they're going to waste 2 retrieval runs here. So we're going to use border control. We're going to trash it. They'll do a 2nd retrieval run. That's the only way they get their Orca down. If they have to spend 6 for their Orca, that's totally fine. And to 1 Lobotomian charge. I totally forgot this deck's on retrieval run. Trash Panda. They can go back. Yeah, they set that up. That's very smart. At least they spend 6 for their Orca, which like is expensive. It does get the environmental testings closer. So like we probably have a financial window here. The thing is like the CityWorks project is obviously game. So we can do install advance. It leaves us on 10 credits. We can res tree line border control. They have to run the tree line twice. There's a chance that's actually the winning line is install advance CityWorks. I'm saying you have to deal with this now. And then tree line border control probably does it. This is res for 8 though. It leaves us 1 credit short. So we actually can win off the Audacity. We can pull the Audacity, do advance or advance Audacity on 1 credit. And we're lucky that we're holding these at least. Like we're not weak to trick shot, but I do think eventually they'll run HQ to charge the Wake. 1 other install, mind you, does give them a lot of credits. They're checking archives. I'm okay with that. It's respect. I like that. We did throw out a lot of cards. Oh, they charged environmental testing. Oh, that's cool. Because I would have maybe public trailed there. All right. So we can set up a fork here. Now they don't have any more environmental testing. So the question is, can you just run the server? Now you need 4 cards in hand. That's already hard. They only have 2 cards in hand. The other option is to win off centrals. And obviously we're loaded in HQ. None of these tree lines are broken cheaply. They have to boost twice. So it's 3 credits to break each tree line. We're looking in terms of the cards left. They only have 3 cards left. That's a buy advance. So we have to be very careful about our math here. Lobotomian gets charged. The hammer's broken for 4 credits. That's already a good start. And the buy is going to draw 2. I don't think we res this border control. I think we just hope R&D holds. Hammer for 4. It's pretty good into Orca. 4 is not bad. They can break some of it, but it's any number of sentry subroutines, so they have no point. Unless you're going to rate all of it fire. Now with a cataloger here, we're really happy that we're holding a 3-pointer and a 3-pointer on the table because the cataloger probably won't win. I guess that's how we lose, is to the cataloger. But they'd have to see like 3 agendas. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 2 agendas in 17. It's very likely the cataloger whiffs. Now they can do buy it first and they can decide whether they want to access or they want to look at 4 with the cataloger. But we're pretty comfortable with that. They only have 3 cards. CityWorks project isn't totally safe unless they Ashen. So we have to survive this turn. Cataloger look at 4. There's 2 agendas in 17. If that's the case, though, they can still run HQ and win with Docklands. Winchester's again 4 credits. Tree line is 3. So we're actually lucky when you flood. A lot of times against these like R&D pressure shaper decks, you want the agendas in hand. And that's why it's really good that they're running a Docklands. No action. You always want to ask for action if we have a spin doctor. Clearly we can't shuffle, but I don't think they saw anything. So 3 clicks left. To run their remote server, they need 4 cards in hand. That's very difficult. So the only line they have here is to run HQ. And I think there's a chance running HQ can win. We can always use the Alice token to like pull a non-agenda. That shuffles R&D, so they have a chance of running back. I don't think it's that bad. But we could actually, our action could have been Atlas token. So actually it's not lull, but in theory we could have Atlas tokened for the cataloger. So maybe that lull looks rude. Click for a credit. They mind you can only break 2 more barriers. They have no way of charging this. Okay, they're running HQ. So we have to res the tree line here. It leaves us on 6 credits. That's enough to res the border control and still score out. So we're totally safe on the remote server here. Not that we have to res any of this ice, mind you. Because they have 3 cards in hand. Yeah, with 3 cards in hand, maybe we're playing around Ashen. Maybe we could have just res the border control. It actually might have been right. So this is 3 credits and the Winchester's 4 credits. So they can't actually break all of this. They could like trace through this, but this actually looks really difficult. Because again, yeah, this is 3 because it's exactly on an odd amount, which Lopisomia doesn't appreciate. So they have to boost break. And then Winchester will leave them with an ability not to break. They can boost and half break. So they'd have to click for another credit. If that's the case, they see 2 on HQ, we can pull 1 Atlas card to hand and then hope they don't see exactly the 2 agendas, which is unlikely. Fire all, they have 1 click left here. They can't run server 1. They don't have enough cards. I think we have it. AGG. Creative Commission last click. We'll just score at the CityWorks project. Triple advance. Let's go. Got there. Good game. Dig charging up. It's close. It's really close. I'm lucky we have a lot of barriers on the list. 56 to 78 credits. We didn't make a lot of money. Thanks for the game. But the barrier is definitely stacking up relatively well against Lobosomu. I think if we didn't put the border control and you got the cheaper Orca out, like it didn't require that much time and credits, like it's probably good for us. But the Orca is actually really difficult because we're only running 4 strength sentries. So all of our sentries at a minimum install Orca and pay 4 to break our first sentry is pretty good for us. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I was so impressed with how smooth Built to Last was to play. And maybe that should be expected. If you're advancing cards and getting your money for free, that just pushes your game plan forward. And it just felt really good. We recently played, mind you, just some, we tried to build like a PD deck out of Built to Last and just jam agenda into agenda and push ourselves forward. And like, you're getting 16, 18 credits clicklessly. I need to play more Built to Last and not play, I think specifically, it's worth noting, the competitive Built to Last decks right now in the standard format are like late game Glacier monsters with all the like 10 strength Pharoses and massive log jams. But doing the opposite kind of seems okay. So we'll probably end up playing more of that in the near future. I want to give a huge thank you. This sort of video takes a lot of time. There's a lot of recording, editing, all that sort of stuff. And it just would not be possible without the support from all of the kind patrons. So thank you to all these names here and more. We have also a whole bunch of daily cast patrons. The support to the channel is incredibly appreciated. And it's the way that I can put the time to make the stuff the way that I want to make them. And hopefully you've been enjoying that. With that, the Alphabet series trucks on. We've been really slow. Apologies for that. We're up on C. That's going to be Captain Padma. They're the only option under the C letter if you want to kind of bend the rules like that. And I'm really excited because I've seen some really cool Padma decks in the last couple of weeks. Some really cool cards from Rebellion Without Rehearsal to support some charge synergy. Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you just in a bit. Take care.